Welcome to Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter. Uncle Dave, let's talk about what we just saw in these Eastern Conference and Western Conference semifinal games. I guess we'll
Sure.
start here with the Thunder and the Nuggets. Game 6, obviously the Nuggets played some good inspired ball, but Game 7, the Thunder just basically had their way with them. What was your assessment of the how the series ended here?
Well, uh, first of all, that series is more about the Thunder, I think, than the Nuggets. We talked about this all regular season that the Nuggets GM, and rightfully so, being fired. Never went out and got another bench. 2 years ago, they had Brown. I mean, not Brown. They had Green, and they had KCP. You didn't replace them. Last year, you knocked out in the second round. This year, you knocked out in the second round. You're tired at the end of all these games. And the only reason they won game six and game four basically is because Williams was shooting like Stevie Wonder. Basically, it's as Shaquille O'Neal always talks about, and he's right. He talked about the others. How do the others play? And Shaq was right about that. How do the others play? And if you remember, Williams went 3 for 16 in game six. Just awful, playing horrendous basketball.
I
And
kind of
he
agree with you. I
defend
think all the games the Thunder won, it's just because they just didn't play up to their full potential, and that's
right.
basically
And
why.
and this is where Dagnall, the coach of the Thunder, had to show us incredible balls because Lou Dort wasn't hitting the shots either, and so he had to go to Caruso and take out your starter. And I give him credit for still starting, you know, Dort because that's what you do. And he stuck with Williams, but Williams in Game 7 played well. What happened with both Dort and Williams weren't shooting well. Williams for a 3 game stretch was shooting 25%, and he's the guy who was going to be open. And we've also talked about this a lot on the podcast that we've
He didn't
seen
have a
more
good
zone.
series too, Jalen Williams.
Right.
Only shot 38%. He wasn't
Right.
good.
And we never saw as much zone as we've ever seen for. And these are two coaches that were willing to play zone. It's just sad that the rest of the world doesn't realize they're all talking about Caruso locked up Joker one on one. It wasn't a one on one, it was a zone. He played behind him and got zone help and gave the weak side up because they didn't trust Russell Westbrook or Porter to hit a jump shot. And that turned out to be true. So Williams stepped up. Remember in game four, Wallace stepped up and did some good things for the Thunder. They had Wallace step up, and they had also they had Wiggins step up. So everybody has to step up and give you some of the others. But the Nuggets just didn't have enough help. You got Aaron Gordon playing on half a leg. Murray didn't show up for a big game.
And
Brown
Porter's
played
shoulder is
good.
bothering him. Porter has
Yeah,
a bad
Brown
shoulder.
played good. Porter has just been a shell of himself. And what the Nuggets really need to do is really hardcore evaluate what they're going to do here with Porter. I mean, I don't know what the contract status is, but you can see that there's something there. He's got obviously off the court stuff with gambling issues with his family and stuff, which is not on him.
Plus,
But
plus
Jesus
Aaron Gordon,
Christ,
his brother died this year. I mean, it's been some odd things that have happened to this team.
it's been a
Yeah,
rough thing. But Williams, like you said, shot 38% for the series. Chet Holmgren's had his moments. They've hit him. He shot 46%, but still did a nice job.
yeah, he's a solid player overall, though defensively too.
Yeah,
He's done a pretty good job. So he's usually reliable for them. He's proving.
right.
And
And you got to,
Hartenstein, I think, was a good addition for them. A big body that
yeah,
can rebound and defend well. As a
yeah, and you
unit,
got to.
this is just a great defensive team. They just keep pressure on you the whole time.
Well, in Game 7 yesterday, Joker and Murray go out, and it's like a 5 point game. First of all, they're up 21-10. Then all of a sudden they're down 26-21. Then you take Joker and Murray out for a blow at the beginning of the second quarter, and all of a sudden that 13-0 run becomes a 20-0 run, and they had a 7-0 run, and that's the game right there. Basically, the second quarter they had about 4 or 5 live ball turnovers. In a 1 minute stretch, as soon as Murray and Joker came out, it was 8-0. So
Yeah.
now you're down 13 in the beginning of the second quarter. That crowd is really into it. They went nuts. The crowd went
Well,
crazy,
that's the
and
problem too. I think they have a problem playmaking because when you get the ball to Jokic, all the defense has to worry about him. So he's able to just be able to score and pick his spots, and he's a great passer. So when he's not
sure.
on the floor, you're missing an elite passer and scorer. So that hurts them a ton. They're just glaring when he's not on the floor for them. Where do they get their points from?
Well, sure. And the funny thing is, Joker averaged over 10 assists a game for the season, and he averaged 5.9 in this series. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the coach of the Thunder did a solid job of doing his homework and averaging 5.9 assists. Just said, let somebody else beat me. I'm not giving you layups. I'll give you something else. And Murray shot only 40% for the series. Gordon, who was really their best player besides Joker for the series, Brown came alive yesterday. Russ still not a good shooter. Michael Porter 32% for the series, and so that's just not going to work. You're really playing six guys. Strother saved their ass in Game 6. But again, it was really about OKC not being able to make a shot in Game 6. Same thing in Game 3. They got up 2-1 Denver. But then, OKC got that series back and won a close game, but a lot of zone play in this series. And we talked about this before. The NBA is going to become more and more like a zone because guys don't handle it well. The league has become, I'm going to take my man.
You've been ahead of the curve on this. I remember you saying, like, let me funnel the ball to who I want to.
Exactly.
And I try to limit your layups, and I try to limit that. That's it.
I'll leave one guy open. I'll just say, listen, I don't give a shit. You can beat me all you want, but here's the thing.
You even said it against the Warriors. Why am I going to chase Steph and Clay off screens?
No, I'm not chasing him. I'm letting fucking Draymond shoot jumpers. If he beats me, he beats me. But here's the thing.
Right.
So you sit there, and the whole league is designed off of penetrate, force help, and then start to swing it. Well, you know what? I'm not letting you do that. So why bother? Freaking Porter's athletic. At least he can still dunk, and Aaron Gordon's going to get lobs at the rim. I'm not doing that. I'm playing you a zone. We saw a lot of zone in this series. You see that OKC and Indiana play a lot of zone, and it's fun to watch. And we'll see what Minnesota does. Minnesota has such good length that they could be a very effective zone too. We'll see what they do. I think OKC might play it again just to limit, Edwards drives and things of that nature. We'll see. This is going to be a fascinating series. And I just want to say that I disagree with all the people out there who say this is a boring Final Four.
No way.
This is the most exciting Final Four we've had in 25 years.
How about this, Uncle Dave? The last team to have won an NBA championship out of this group is from 1979 when the Thunder were the Supersonics. And before that, the Knicks in 73. And the Pacers and the Wolves have never won.
Dennis Johnson and Gus Williams in the backcourt, winning Game 7. Basically, beating the Bullets with Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld, Bobby Dandridge, Dunleavy. Oh, it was a great basketball back then. The league was on tape delay back then, friends. So me staying up on my black and white TV at 11:30 to watch the last game was.
No, I think it's absolutely an exciting Final Four we have here of these.
So exciting! I'm so pumped up because this OKC Minnesota series, it's just the craziest series to try to figure out. But we have to get to the Celtics and the Knicks, I guess, before we go there.
Yeah, well, we'll just want to talk about a little bit with this Thunder team, too. I think Alex Caruso, that pickup right there, I think for them is just incredible. I mean, he was racing away with the Bulls. He goes to the Thunder, and you have a guy, I tell you what, he's not a bad shooter, this guy. If he gets his feet square and he's got an open look, he's a reliable shooter. And Gilgeous-Alexander was just a stud this series. He shot over 50% and averaged 30 points. So he was just a stud. He's just proving that he's worth the price of admission, that's for sure.
He sure is. And you know what the funny thing is? So Caruso showed you in 2020 that he could go out and play with superstars and be effective. And that's what you need. And that's why these GMs and people go, you know better than a GM on a basketball side? I go, yeah, I do. Because you know what? Some of these guys suck. The OKC obviously has the best GM this year. He did win Executive of the Year.
Presti, former Emerson alum, by the way, where I went to.
Yep, by the way. And you know what? He still has a ton of picks in hand. And he went out and he picked up scrap heap guys that somebody else didn't want. So that's not the only guy they picked up. They went out and got Hartenstein too. Hartenstein's like not this great center, but you know what? Hartenstein 2 years ago was almost out of the league. All right, so here we are. You had an afterthought, and you got something out of him. And now you got Caruso, was probably people thought was done. All right, and here's a guy who's willing to make winning plays, doesn't care, and that's why these teams of KD, Beal, and Booker don't work, because everybody has to have the ball.
Yep.
Caruso could give two shits whether he has the ball.
Never have to run a play for him, ever. He's never going to bench either.
Yeah, I love guys you don't have to run a play for. And you know what? It's the others who win series. Look how valuable Robinson's been for the Knicks. But OKC is just well run. Presti has done this before. But here's the other thing. We talked about this with the Cavs. Cavs had a great year. We know they lost in the playoffs, a couple injuries and so forth. And once again, by the way, the NBA's injury bug has...
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, my God, just disgusting. But the problem is, here we are. They were allowed to grow. We don't have to hemorrhage and break apart teams the minute the fan base, who understands no basketball, starts bitching on the call-in radio stations. This team was allowed to grow. Last year, they came up short. They still have a couple of things I'd like to see them get better at, but they were allowed to go through the process of winning. I hate the word process. It's not the way I'm using it. Back in the day, you let a team go for a 3 or 4 year process, and they got better and they advanced. This team has been allowed, and that's the key. They've had the same coach. They've had the same GM. and they've been allowed to do it. Same thing with Cleveland, all right? They got rid of their coach, but Cleveland, again, we talked about this. They tried to trade big guys, they tried to trade guards, and they couldn't. And the result was they had a great season. So you have to let these teams go through this.
Yeah, I agree. The growing pains, that's the process. It might be a cliche and overused, but it's true though. You need to have that happen, I think, in order for
Yeah,
your
and I'm
guys
not even
to
using it in the
learn.
way that we're all doing it with this, the
Yeah,
Jets and all their bull crap. But I'm talking about
right.
those teams in the old days were allowed to mature. I know that the special, special rules are different now with keeping free agents and stuff, but you have to allow these teams. Why break it apart? You still need to keep the guys who can help you win. And if you can't evaluate that, you shouldn't have the job.
Yep. Yeah, the margin too is even that Cavs Pacers series. Indiana wins 4-1, but the margin is still so small, even
Oh,
though you lost.
definitely. Well, they stole game two, and that's the key.
Yeah. We'll go
You
on a
steal
little bit.
game
We'll move
two.
on from this, the Thunder and the Nuggets. We'll go over to the other Western Conference series with the Timberwolves and the Warriors. And I think this series is just going to remember that Steph goes down. And the Warriors, I tell you what, they were in every game at halftime. And then
Yep.
the second halves, they just couldn't keep up. In the Wolves, basically the last three games, they all seemed like the same. They just pulled away in the second half.
And this is what's scary. Is this a pathetic Wolves team that won because they just played an inferior opponent, or is this a team that was just
Having
going to be
Draymond
bored
play
because they
center.
know, or going to be bored because they know they should win? I don't know what to think about Minnesota going into the series because of this.
Right.
Were they that bad, or were they just bored because they know that the pressure was on and they should have won?
Well,
Like
what's
right
looking
now,
good
they're
for
the
them is
underdog.
Julius Randle's playing the best basketball of his career right now.
Oh,
So
he is. He was
he's
the best
looking.
player of the whole series.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might want to say he's actually the best player the Timberwolves have had this whole playoff right now. He's been that
Absolutely.
good. So
But the thing is, like, what do we trust from the Wolves? I think the Wolves will be really motivated because they are the underdog.
yes,
But at the same time, like, you couldn't find a way to score on the Warriors with a
yeah.
6 foot
I,
six
I
and a half
kind of
center.
I kind of think that the Thunder are going to make their lives miserable defensively. That's my
I
feeling.
think so too. I
I
think
think
so too.
I think I could see the Thunder winning this in five. I really do.
And here's the thing: the Thunder can run multiple guys at Edwards.
Yes.
That's one problem. That's one of the advantages the Warriors always have with LeBron.
Yeah,
Run
you could
multiple
rotate
guys at him.
Jordan Williams on him and double team him on pick and rolls. You could just
Yep.
kind of rotate.
And Caruso's going to have him sometimes too.
Yep.
But the only weakness, the Thunder are still light on that back line, and the freaking Wolves are long.
Yes.
That is the biggest team in the NBA, I think. I mean, they're just
Yeah,
damn
Gobert
long.
and Nas Reed, yeah, and Julius Randle.
They're
Like,
long
and
everywhere. And
McDaniels is long
Randall
too. McDaniels has
and
played.
Randall's a bitch. Randall, I know Chet can take Randall away from the basket, but Randall can punish Chet too. If they ever hit bodies, Chet's gonna break.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean, Jaden
Hartenstein's
McDaniels. The key to really me is the third guy. It's Jaden McDaniels here, and is Randall going to keep up this hot play?
yeah,
Nas Reed is such an important part. Like if you
yes.
look,
Is
the,
his
the
jump
Wolves
shot
have
falling or not?
the Wolves have 7 guys that play over 25 minutes. That's impressive. Mike Conley's got to give you something this series as well. And their eighth guy is Walker when they do play 8, but really they're like a 7.5 man team right now. So we have to see what happens here. But
Plus, if you're the Wolves, you're hoping because DiVincenzo's been pretty bad this playoff so far. He's not
yeah,
been
I
very
don't think he
good.
plays enough. I don't think he gets
Yeah,
enough shots.
yeah. So he's at yeah. So he got 25 minutes a night in the Timberwolves in the in the series against the Warriors here. So he only shot 38%, but you're just thinking, man, this guy's a good enough player where he's going to come around here. So you figure he'll be better in this series. Most likely, you're hoping at least just by the numbers and the percentages. But you're right. I think the front line battle is going to be fascinating to watch here with Gobert and Julius Randle basically against Nas Reed and Holmgren. Like you said, they kind of have to impose their will, I think, physically on the board there. But on the perimeter, though, defensively, the Thunder are just so versatile. They can just, Dort and Williams and Caruso, they just are incredible as far as their ability to just cover you man to man, I think, the whole game. So
Yeah.
it's
If you
going to
look at these shooting,
be.
it's funny though. You look at these shooting percentages for the series from the Wolves. You would think they scored a lot of points here. I mean, look at this. I mean, Rudy Gobert, 64%. We know he only gets 6 points a game. But Nas Reed, 54%. Jaden McDaniels, 53%. 53% for Randall. So you ask yourself, how the hell would they not score? Because they didn't score a lot. So
You look at their shooting percentages, you think they would have scored more than they did,
yeah.
correct? Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you're sitting here going, what the hell happened in this series?
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre because when you look at it, they only averaged 109, which I guess is not good for them. But they
Too many
shot
turnovers too.
49% for the series.
18 turnovers a game for the series. So
Yes. Well, that's
gotta cut
what
that
did
down.
Denver in. That's what did Denver in yesterday.
So, I
Horrendous.
mean, if you're turning it over against this Warriors team, imagine what the Thunder are going to do to you. You might have a 24-25 turnover game against them.
Yeah, and the other thing is that they talk about yesterday that no one mentions is the Thunder, the youngest team in the NBA. They get out in transition. You see this. I've seen this for 40 years watching NBA Finals games, 45 years. The young legs in the finals just make such a difference. These
They do.
teams get out and run, and eventually, when you're the young guy, you become the old guy. I mean, I remember I just watched this my whole life. I mean, like you see it every finals. There's usually a big difference in which tempo what team wants to play as opposed to the other, and you've seen teams get run out. And when you can control the tempo and get out, like the Thunder did in the beginning of that second
It was
quarter,
like
that's
when
the
the
game to lose.
Pistons were trying for their three-peat. They just had nothing left, and the Bulls just ran through them like a knife
Oh, the
through
Bulls
butter.
then the Bulls ran them out, and when Magic and them were trying to repeat,
Yeah,
and they were a little older, the Pistons tried to run on them.
yeah,
And the Lakers just used the opportunity break at that point. They get when Kareem would stay back, but sometimes they'd run, but usually they didn't want to.
right.
But then in 85, 84, 83, 82, the Lakers want to run
All those
85, 80,
dynasties, they say by the end of it, you just have no legs no more. That's just
No,
it's over for you.
you're playing into June.
Yeah, and things that would have been maybe minor injuries are now not minor anymore. So it just adds
Yeah,
up.
and then people overreact and say, "Can this Nuggets core win again?" I think the main three guys, the main four guys, because Brown's still under contract. Those main four guys, you got to make a decision on Porter, and you got to get a couple of more players.
I think
I think
obviously, I think because Jokic is such an unselfish player, I think you
right.
can attract a good free agent or two to that team there. But
Absolutely. And you can attract a multiple type of free agent too, because he could play any different way you want.
absolutely.
So like he gives you flexibility. And
We
I
talked
think
about in
that,
the offseason, if you're, I don't know, if you're a guy like Booker or Durant, if you're fed up with what your situation is, you might want to say, hey, inquire there and see how they feel
yeah,
about
I mean,
it.
they got that main four. Like I said, you got to see what Porter's contract situation is, and you got to have a rotation of 8 guys. This is just, you got to have some guys that can help you. You got to have guys that can help you on a defensive end, maybe be a 3-and-D guy. You got to get some guys like that. Go get a guy like a Grayson Allen. He'd help that team in a heartbeat.
I think with this Warriors team too, it was interesting. I mean, it was very bizarre. Like Kaminga doesn't play at all against the
Right.
Rockets, and he was maybe your best player after Steph went down. So it just was kind of an odd situation for them, I thought. Buddy Hield was, yeah, not
Yep.
great. Only shot 36%. Jimmy Butler, again, they just overall didn't play well enough.
No.
Obviously, Steph going down. If he doesn't go down, that's a different series, I think.
Oh yeah, I think the Warriors win, but playoff Jimmy's not playoff Jimmy either. Again, he's had a couple of real clankers in the playoffs, so this reputation. I know, like we like to catch on to phrases in America. No, playoff Jimmy, come on, dude, very overrated in the playoffs. He's had some great moments, but he's had some clunkers too. I
Pajensky
mean,
was
he's
34%. I mean, without Steph, they just could not find enough
yeah,
ways to score
exactly.
throughout the game. And like I said, in the second half, every time in the last three games, the Wolves just basically blew them out after that. They just I thought
Absolutely.
especially game three, I thought they had a chance to win that one late in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter. Just
absolutely.
Edwards, he proved that he's a stud. He just makes the plays that you need down the stretch. And
Sure,
Randall and Reed really played well and made opportunistic buckets for them. So this
sure.
team, I think, is made of the right DNA. It's just a matter of are they on that night or not. I think
Right.
they're just a little too inconsistent for my liking. With
Yep.
either
Yep.
just not smart plays or just looking like they lack interest. But you have to factor in a guy like Mike Conley. Do they rally around him and say we want to win one for the elder statesman here? So we'll see
Well,
if they
Mike
have
Conley's
that.
got to step up here. Mike
Yeah,
Conley's got to step up, and then these
he didn't
teams
play
like
great
you look
against the Warriors. He only shot
no.
34%.
And these teams need to look at a guy like a Mike Conley and say, we could use a backup point guard, or like go get a guy who could back up Joker. Like some of your guys, like you got to have a backup for Murray. Rust, you don't want him making decisions. You got to have a backup for Joker. You just got to have backups. You got to have some minutes for these guys. Like you can't have, guys playing 45 minutes every night. It just doesn't work.
He stepped into a couple and looked like Draymond of old there, but
Yep, yep.
just
First couple of games of that series, he put up some numbers. He had 14 one game, 20 another. He did a good job. But then at the
yeah,
end of the series, his old Draymond came back to no offensive production.
inconsistent scoring for them in the second halves of these games. They just could keep up with it for a half, but then the second half, it just the wheels
And
always fell off.
Kerr always gets stuck on a couple of guys, and the one kid had, Prodzinski had naked photos of him or something, because that kid was terrible.
Yeah,
And yet you won't play Kaminga. So something obviously is there at practice that we're not seeing. Maybe Kaminga doesn't go hard. We don't see that stuff. But it's just, I mean, Kaminga is going to get some money somewhere.
yes, he is for sure.
You're 6'7", you can run the floor and score. You're going to get some money.
And Uncle Dave, we'll move on to the Cavaliers and the Pacers series here, and obviously,
Yep.
I think the story of this is that just the Cavaliers again, the injury bug bites them, and
Ah, terrible.
that kind of that sinks their ship, I think, a little bit there.
Yep, sure does. It's you feel bad because the Cavs had a great year. We feel bad for Kenny Atkinson too because we love Kenny Atkinson. But at the same time, the series looks close on paper until you look at a couple of numbers as far as like, shooting percentage and things of that nature. The Pacers' pace of play, not to be a pun, but really are a different team. I think the Pacers are the most unique team in the playoffs this year because Carlisle creates this. They actually don't care what the score is. They're going up and down. And I think that's a strength of theirs, and he sticks to it even in the playoffs. But the big stat here for me is, the Cavs shoot 45%. The Pacers only shoot, well, the Cavs actually, no, Cavs shot 42%. Pacers shot 50% for the series. That's the only two numbers you need right there. Plus, the Pacers shoot 42% from three. They're going to do that. And I'll tell you, this is where coaching for you non-coaches out there, single game during a regular season as a series, this is where you see the genius of Rick Carlisle. And this is where I'm nervous for the Knicks. I think Tibbs is a fine coach, but Carlisle's a guy who will fucking do anything.
Yeah, he's
And a
masterful.
guy who will do anything. It's like Jim Valvano. They'll do anything. They'll play the hunch, and they're usually right. So a guy like Valvano, he used to fucking be able to, he'd roll the fucking dice. Just go watch that goddamn 83 NC State team. They should have lost 5 times. This guy rolled the dice. This guy is dangerous as a coach. And so what's going to happen here is you take a guy like, you take some of those backups on Cleveland, all right? Guys who are up for sixth man of the year, the old Cav alum. They took him totally out of the series. Totally out of the series until game 5, when basically they didn't play him for the first 25 minutes, Ty Jerome, and then they put him in late and he produced. So Kenny probably made a little bit of a mistake there. But at the same time, you take those guys out because, like I said, you're not coming into town on a Wednesday and playing that night when you don't have time to really get a good walkthrough and prepare. That 30-minute walkthrough off of back-to-back is not helping you. Whereas now you have a week to prepare. Then not only do you have a week, you have multiple games in a row with the same opponent. This is where you can really break down a team. And this is where Rick Carlisle, again, he did a great job beating that damn Miami Heat team. He had no business winning that final. That's one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen in my life.
It is.
And no one ever talks about it. You win it with Stevenson and guys that aren't even in the league about 2 years later.
Brian Cardinal.
So, I mean, yeah, Brian, you win it with guys that, I mean, I don't know what Stevenson is. Is he washing cars? That guy was a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, now don't forget me wrong. You had the Jet, you had an old Jason Kidd, but Jesus, I'm telling you,
It was
he's just a
basically
really good
Dirk
coach.
and a bunch of glue guys at that point. You didn't have any really. Sean
right,
Marion
so
at the later part of his career. It just felt
so
like
you're nervous about
guys together.
You're nervous about Tibbs being so stuck to his ways. Now I know they work, but he's very stuck in his ways here. And so here's the situation with these damn Pacers. If you're the Knicks, I know you might want to run up and down for game 1 and something like that, but after a while, it's going to be rough. You play that pace, it's going to be difficult. But I felt bad for the Cavs. They got banged up, but they just got taken apart.
You look at the series too. Garland misses 2 of the games.
Yep.
You have DeAndre Hunter miss 1 game.
Yep.
You have also
Mobley missed a game.
Yeah, exactly. So you lose. You have 3 of your main guys that were out 2 games or at least 1 game. That in the playoffs, that's a huge thing. I think.
And here we are talking about injuries again.
You have to run it back. And Donovan Mitchell, he averages 34, but he only shot 43%. Now, some of that is if he had more of his help with him, that maybe that would have been a higher shooting percentage. I think if you're them, you just kind of have to run it back again next year. I think that's really what you have to do with them.
And you know what? I think they have enough there to win. I just think that you do have to run it back. I don't think you need a lot. If you can pick up something, great. But I don't think you have to force it. I don't know who's a free agent or anything like that. But I don't think you have to force that. But you do have to remember that we've talked about this for years now. Guys don't play as hard in the regular season anymore as they used to. So sometimes the regular season record is inflated.
Yes.
Why is theirs inflated? Because you had a team that had a lot to prove. You had some guys coming off 1-year deals. A guy like a Ty Jerome. A guy like
this is still a hungry young nucleus. I think they'll have a top record in the East again next year. They'll be a top 3, I think, no question. Obviously, barring injuries.
And you know what? They didn't go inside enough. We talked about this before they got eliminated. They needed to go inside more. They just didn't. The stats on the series show that they could have went inside more, and they didn't. But that's the whole NBA right now. Who's going to be patient enough to punish the other team? We talked about how the Wolves couldn't do it to the Warriors, but they did win anyway. But is Karl-Anthony Towns going to punish the lack of size the Pacers have? Will he do it? Will they put him inside? And because after Miles Turner, there's not much.
They're thin on the front line.
baseline.
Well, Obi Toppin is your next big.
Yep, you must punish them. But will they do it? Is somebody patient enough to punish?
And we'll move on, I guess, Uncle Dave, to that series. We'll look at the Knicks and the Celtics, what happened in that series as well.
Tatum.
How obvious, and we're finding out now. It's reported that Jaylen Brown was playing with a torn meniscus the whole series, so that you got to factor that in. And Kristaps
Yeah, we talked
Porzingis
about
has,
that. He was hurt. He was hurt.
yep,
He was hurt all series.
and Kristaps Porzingis has this illness that they're talking about on the, I
Time
forgot
to
who
cut bait there.
yeah,
Time to
so
cut bait.
we don't know what's going on exactly there, other than that he had this mystery illness. And then Drew Holiday was banged up as well. Obviously, give
We
credit to the
talked
Knicks.
about that though. They were vulnerable coming in. We talked
Yes,
about
you
it.
you talked about it, is right. Yeah, that they kind of, they were obviously an excellent team, but there was something a little off, and here we are, and the Knicks wind up winning the series 4-2.
Yeah, and
So
again, you shot 25% the first two games from three, and then the last game again, you shoot 30% from three. You're not
yeah,
winning like that. I'm
you
sorry. You
can't,
have
you
to make
can't,
adjustments.
you can't basically give 2 games at home when you're up 20. That really set the tone right there, and it was over after that, I think.
Yeah, and then Tatum gets hurt, but you were already down in that game. So for me, yeah, could you have won game six if you had a healthy Tatum? Maybe, but I'm telling you, last year they were very fortunate. They played a banged up Pacers team. But you know what? And we said this: if they got to play the Pacers in the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, you would have seen 100 3-pointers in a game.
Yeah,
And if the Pacers ever get to play OKC here, you will see 100 3-pointers in an NBA Finals game
I
because
think,
they'll both just go up and down. You'll
yeah,
see 100
yeah.
because Indiana's going to shoot them. And if the Indiana and the Celtics played, you would have seen 100 in a game. Both of them would have hit. Both of them would have went for 50 one night
Yeah.
and taken them.
Yes.
And it's just fascinating. But people, the pace of the games with those two teams would have been crazy. But the Celtics were really boring. They didn't adjust, and this is why, again, not all-time great team, a very good champion, but they didn't adjust ever, and that's a little bit on the coach. And again, you have Udoka, you probably have two NBA titles.
Yeah, I think Porzingis being off, I think, and Jaylen Brown and Holiday not being 100% is what bit them in the ass. And the Knicks are good enough where they capitalized on that. And
Sure,
obviously, once Tatum went down,
sure,
then the game, I think it was 4, right? Then, 5 and
sure,
6 were
yeah,
tough. But the Celtics, I give them credit, though. They came out in that game 5, basically put it on the Knicks that game. But the Knicks come
sure,
back because they knew game 6. They basically put all their eggs in that basket and said, we're not going to give a chance for a game 7. But
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
so I give credit to the Knicks. I think where they're vulnerable in the next series is they only have a 7-man rotation. Like you said, the Pacers, the way they push the tempo. If you have a guy that goes down or tweaks something, you're really
Yep.
screwed if you're the Knicks, I think.
I think the other thing in this series that's hidden is you got to take advantage of matchups. So whoever has Halliburton covering him has to punish him. He is not a good defender. He weighs a buck 05. You must punish him. He is the head of the snake. I know Pascal Siakam's a better player, but this guy's their emotional leader. You must punish him. So they're not going to put him on Brunson because Brunson will post his ass up all day and get him in foul trouble because Brunson's the best flopper we got in the league besides LeBron. So the next thing is you're going to sit here that who's going to cover him? So when he covers a guy like Hart, he's going to cover Hart. And he's going to hope that Hart's not hitting his jump shot. So Hart's got to get through his chest and get downhill. And then we got to see how Nembhard or Nesmith covers Jalen Brunson. We got to see who handles him best because that's what this comes down to. And the other one's got to cover Anunoby, who's going to have a height advantage. So Hart and Anunoby got to take advantage of this. And Karl-Anthony Towns has got to take advantage of the fact that they have no depth. See, that behind Karl-Anthony Towns, the Knicks have some depth. You got Robinson in there. Robinson played a very good series.
He did.
He
And
showed that his feet.
McBride, I think,
Yep.
is a solid player too off the bench for
Yep.
them as well.
And Robinson showed how mobile he is side to side to be able to cover
He's a great rim
rings.
protector and defender.
And
Exactly.
plus, he moved his feet well on the perimeter a couple of
Yeah, he
times. For his
does. Well,
one-on-one.
again, you have to shoot over a 7-footer and finish over him. A guy who can move
Yep.
his feet pretty good. That's difficult, even for an elite guard.
Yeah. And we'll see if Carlisle can do Hack on Robinson. He really can't because he has no depth as far as the center goes. We know they play 9 guys, but they don't have any center depth. So when Turner goes out, who's going to commit these fouls? So the Celtics could have wasted 3 fouls, all the 3 guys they had playing the post, if they could have wasted all those fouls if Porzingis was healthy. You can't really go hack a guy if you're going to put your bigs in danger of fouling out. And the Pacers don't have that extra big. And this is where these guys get hurt. So the thing is, the Pacers got to figure out, hey, we have to find a way to hide Halliburton on defense. The Knicks got to hide Brunson a little bit on defense, not as bad as Halliburton, but we got to see who attacks these matchups. I think that
You'll see
You know,
Indiana, I
he'll
think, play some zone too. You think maybe if Turner goes down,
absolutely.
they might want
Indiana's
to play a
definitely going to
zone.
play some zone.
They definitely
Definitely going
will.
to play some zone. Whereas Tibbs, I'd be very surprised if you see them playing
Oh, I don't. Yeah,
any zone.
I don't see him
And
doing.
the thing is, who does Brunson cover? You're not going to put Brunson on Halliburton. You're going to put Hart on Halliburton. So what you're going to do is Brunson's going to cover Naismith or Nemhart, and I'll tell you, I put him on Nesmith because he's not as good a shooter. But the thing is, it's those two wings very underrated. And the Indiana Pacers have like those two old pros, Turner and Pascal Siakam, who's a stud. Turner and Siakam are like my favorite pros. They're just like guys who you never hear shit from. They just play.
Yeah, they just people forget Siakam was a great contributor on that Toronto team
Yep.
that won in
Yep.
2019. He was excellent
Yep.
then.
And Miles Turner has just been a steady pro for many years.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
been very
gosh,
solid. You're never going to
if
hear
all
about him 15 years from
yep,
now, but he's one of
yep.
those guys.
If all these long guys in the NBA would just take a page out of Miles Turner's book. Here's a guy that didn't have a J when he came in the league. All he did
Oh,
was
he's
keep
got a pretty
improving himself.
consistent jumper now. Yeah.
Yeah, so you look at these guys like Mo Bamba, who should have been good and never fucking worked out, or Bol. I mean, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like, look at a guy like Miles Turner. They're both more talented than he is, and what is he doing? He's having a better career than they'll ever have. Why?
Yeah.
Because he probably got his ass in the gym and didn't get his head
He'll
up his
play
ass.
at least another 4 or 5 years too.
Yeah,
So
but and look how effective he is. Where the hell's
yeah,
Bol now?
I know.
Is he playing? Is he playing the G League? What the fuck is he
Yeah,
doing?
I think he just some of these guys just like being a commodity. I think they just Mo Bamba's named after a rapper, and Bol's living off his father's name. I think.
Yeah, so like, what are we doing here? So like, what happened to a guy like Mo Bamba? That guy was a talented guy. So
Yeah,
like, you got to put some time into the gym. You wonder what these guys are doing.
yeah.
So here's a guy, Miles. So Turner's not half as talented, and yet here he is. Bol was this guy everybody's talking about how talented he is. Well, how about getting your ass out there and working on your game?
Yeah.
It drives you insane.
The Knicks, though, I think obviously their five starters, I think, are all playing well. That was the thing in this series too against the Celtics. Nobody
And let's
played
pray
bad.
for no injuries. I don't want
Yeah,
any injuries this series. Can we just have a healthy series, Lord,
right.
and let these guys kill each other?
But I'm going to ask you now, Uncle Dave, with the Achilles injury to Jason Tatum, I think basically you sit him out for almost all of next year. Maybe you bring him back in April for to play for.
Well, I was doing a little research on the Celtics the last couple of days. They got a real problem on their hands because, all right, say if he comes back or not, you win 40 to 42 games next year.
I was going to say
But
they might be close to a 500 team without him for
right.
the season. Yeah,
So they got
you're going to
a
be a
lot of
5 or
problems
6
here
seed.
because the only contract you have that's appealing to people is our boy there who's only making 30 million a year and is one of the best shooters, and that's White. So the bottom line is, can you move him? But he's such a good player. So here's the problem. Drew Holiday has 3 more years for 100 million total. Now I like Drew, but is he worth that? Probably not. Porzingis, you got to move on from.
Yeah.
Al Horford's old. So here's the problem. You got to get some front court depth here because Horford's not the answer anymore. And the big fella Porzingis is just not healthy enough. I hate to say that, but
I
he's
think
just
they're in
not.
jeopardy. The Celtics. You might have a collapse next year with them. I think honestly.
Yeah, but
I mean, they're
you
well
got to ask
run,
yourself,
and Jaylen Brown's an excellent player. So you might, like you
right,
said, I think if you win 45 games next year, you consider that a win.
right. But here's the problem for them. What is your philosophy? And Brad Stevens is the right guy to handle it. But what's your philosophy? Because you know that the Pistons and the Magic are coming.
Yeah,
They're all
only
coming
gonna be
back.
better, and Cleveland too.
Yep, and your window is just closing. So this is why the Knicks better take advantage of this window right now. The Knicks and the Pacers better take advantage of this because one of these teams is going to the NBA Finals, and that East, you can see that the Pistons are coming, and you can see that the Magic are coming. I'll tell you what, the Heat will be back too.
Yeah, you'll
So,
see a guy like Durant sign there or something like that.
yep. So
Totally
those 3 teams are going to be a pain in the ass, and you know the Sixers are going to be back. So the thing is, like, this is a strange window. There'll be teams this year that made the playoffs that won't make it next year because the East is going to be incredibly deep.
Yeah.
Might not be great, but it'll be deep.
Antetokounmpo leaves Milwaukee, that could be a complete game
Exactly.
as well.
So you have all this situation here where you got to take advantage of it. But you look at the Celtics. The problem is when the Celtics, if they keep these contracts, they move into what's called the second apron, and then you can't sign certain kinds of free agents. You can't get certain kinds of contracts. It's really restrictive. It's really against trying to keep your team together. I don't like the way they structured it where, I think dynasties are good for the league, but I guess the league doesn't want that at all. But my point is, like, they're in some cap hell right now. And so Brad Stevens has to figure this out. I think you got to move on from Porzingis. I don't know who's going to take him. But I said Derek White's the only contract that makes sense, but he's the guy that can really play. And he's cheap right now. He's only making like 30 million. He's definitely
played
worth
pretty
it.
good, I thought, in this series.
Yeah,
too.
He's excellent.
Really well.
He's an excellent player. But my point is, like, you have to ask yourself what you want to do here. Do you want to sit Tatum the whole year and maybe, get a little bit of like a 40 win and maybe get the 8th seed and maybe get a ping pong ball? Well, what do you want to do? I mean, like, you got to ask yourself, and maybe, give up Derek White and try to get some picks. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to keep those three main guys together and go filling around them? And I think both of those are good options,
Yeah, I think
but
the
the
latter
Celtics
is
are a
what they're going to try
fascinating
to do.
study.
They're going to try to do
Yeah,
that, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and the Celtics are a fascinating study, but Brad Stevens is the right guy to do it. If it was the GM of the old Nuggets GM, I wouldn't say great situation, but
And I trust
Brad,
and believe in him, but with the Boston Celtics brand and reputation, they'll be able to piece this thing together.
yeah, but you have to really sit down and say, what
Yes.
do we want to do?
It's going to
And I
be a
don't know who the
challenge.
hell
It's going to be a
yeah,
fascinating offseason with the Tatum injury. I think what you're saying that changes everything. I think
it
if he was
does.
healthy, then it doesn't. But with him being hurt,
Because your
yeah,
window might be gone for another until
right.
back maybe
And you
two
don't know
years
how
down the road.
guys, obviously, with modern medicine now, it's better than ever. But you
Oh
don't know
God,
how
yeah.
a guy comes back after an injury like that. You never know.
Sure. I mean, Kevin Durant's obviously done it. Dominique Wilkins did it. Kobe did it.
Right.
But it's not easy to do. I don't think Tatum went to the rack enough anyway. Who knows when he comes back, he might even go to the rack less. So my point is, they were banged up before, then they got the ultimate injury. But they have a tough decision to make. I would keep Drew Holiday, but I don't. 33 million is a lot for a guy that is very steady. But that's the way we're paying these days. But they need to go pick up some. And this is why you laugh, but I love watching the NBA Summer League because you can pick up guys from there. There's 4 or 5
Well,
guys
that's
out
where I
there every
trust the
year.
Celtics to kind of find that diamond in the rough guy.
Yep, yep, find them, and
They're
there's
known for
plenty of
that.
them out there. There's plenty of guys out there. Do you look at it, or do you get the back of the draft and you look at a kid that maybe comes from a mid-major program that's very athletic? Like, look, and here's the key: you got to have coaches that develop guys. Look at the year that Ryan Dunn had from Virginia. Look at this kid. This kid could never shoot at Virginia. Played on a team that needed shooting and never learned to shoot. But he's 6'10" this year, one of the best defenders in the league. Should have made the All-Rookie team. Goes to Phoenix and freaking Edwards, LeBron, Luca, all when he went on him, they would all call for a screen to get him off. And that's how good a defender he is. 6'10", had success a little bit shooting the ball. You got to go get guys like that. You got to find a couple of guys who are 6'10", can defend. You get them in the gym and you work their ass out. And you know what? This is where your staff, you got to have trust in your staff to develop guys. And this is where, development is I've talked about this for years. Development is the underrated part of all the staffs, whether it be even pro, where you don't get a lot of time, and especially college. You've got to develop players.
Yeah, I think that center position, they need kind of an anchor guy in there. Like you said,
Got to have an anchor.
Al Horford, if this was Al Horford of 5+ years ago, you don't worry about it. And
Absolutely.
Porzingis, like you said, there's just something not right there. Once he comes back healthy, maybe he'll be what he was before, but I don't know. It just something
But here's
wasn't
the
right,
problem.
obviously, with him.
Even if he does come back on the defensive end, he's never been the guy that wants to stay in
No,
the middle and block
no,
shots.
exactly.
It's like
He's never, like you said, an anchor guy is what I said they need. He's not
yeah,
that.
yeah, and you really need a guy, and you also really need to have a conversation with your coach. Are we still going to only shoot threes? I mean, you could say, yeah, we won with it last year, but you have to adjust during games. It's like when Joe Torre wouldn't bunt on Kurt Schilling pitching with half a leg. It's like, I don't care what the fuck you've done in the
Problem
past. That
is
doesn't put you
I
above
agree with
second
you. I
guessing.
think guys like Tatum and Brown, they're too talented going to the basket to be settling for so many outside shots.
And Brown is so strong. I mean, people
Exactly. Like you
bounce
said,
off of him.
he goes to the bucket. Guys are bouncing off of him is right.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a freaking beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is, like, what did the Celtics do here? Them and the Bucks have the most
Oh my
fascinating
gosh. Yeah.
offseason.
Like you said, we'll be all over it for sure because like
And
you
I
said,
tell you, if
this is
Dallas
where you earn
trades
your
that,
money here.
yeah, if Dallas trades that Cooper Flag pick, I would burn the joint down.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be nuts to trade that pick.
Right.
You want to trade that pick for Giannis? So now you're gonna have 4 or 5 guys that can't shoot?
Yeah.
Is that what you want on Dallas?
Well, we'll
So
talk
you'll have
about that. We'll talk
Kyrie.
about that in a minute.
Yeah, you'll have Kyrie, Giannis, and fucking Anthony Davis. Who's shooting over there? You gotta keep Cooper Flag. Imagine Cooper Flag playing with Kyrie and Anthony Davis, and he's good enough passer where they'll get the ball wherever they want it. That's how good a passer he is. That's probably his best talent is his passing, his
Yeah.
IQ in passing. So he won't care if he takes 20 shots. He'll come in and get freaking 10 assists. He doesn't give a shit.
Right.
Like that's the perfect fit.
We'll look at
Perfect fit.
we'll look at the preview, Uncle Dave, of these conference semifinals. We'll start with the Timberwolves and the Thunder here.
Sure.
what are some things that you are going to stand out for you as far as who you think is going to win this series, and what's the determining factors here for
Well, again, I don't know if the are the T Wolves frauds, or are they
Yes, I think
just
that's
bored,
that's a million dollar question right there.
or were they just bored with the Warriors and the pressure of, well, Steph's not playing, maybe, maybe we were
We could fuck
supposed to
around
win.
here
Like,
a bit, right?
yeah, like which one was it? Like, were they bored? I mean, I don't know. So like for
Well, I
me,
tell you
like,
what, the Thunder are a real deal team, and they play hard the whole game. So you better be the
yeah,
team that's out there playing on their level, because if you don't, they're going to smoke you.
yeah. So which one is them? I feel like they're good enough to win, but I tell you what, I know they had a decent year shooting the ball. I just don't see a lot of offense on this team. But then again, the Thunder on the baseline make me nervous against this very large team. So, but at the end of the game, and if Edwards isn't aggressive this series, if Edwards isn't aggressive, well, last series he wasn't aggressive enough. How does he have 1 point at halftime?
Yeah, it's
Um,
inexcusable. Yeah, no,
so like, I know we want to compare him to Mike and all this other crap, but it's not Mike. All right, so trust me. So the thing is, um, you know, you just don't know which one you're going to get. I'd have to say, gun to my head, I'm picking the Thunder. But
me
at the
as well.
same time, the Thunder got punched in the face last series, and that's good for them. They got punched in the face in Game 3. They were down 2-1, and they got punched in the face. And so you know what? And they got down 11 in Game 7 on their home court, 21-10. They looked like ass,
It
and they
started
just
out
came
where
back.
everything with the Nuggets looked
Yep.
everything perfect for them, right? And they wind up rallying
And
around.
they came
Yeah,
back and kicked their ass. So you
yep.
know what? You got to be happy for them. I think the Thunder are the better team. I know they're the better team, but this is going to be such a fun series. I think the Thunder coaching staff is going to definitely mess with zone. I'm really looking forward to that, because I'm definitely funneling the ball to, maybe I'll get it from, get it away from Daniels, but I don't know. I mean, is Edwards going to settle for jump shots again? I guess again, the whole league has been doubling him this year on those pick and rolls and making him get rid of it. Well, that might be the strategy again, or they might play some zone. They might have Caruso chase Edwards and play a zone on everybody else. Box and one is not unheard of. So, like, and you're seeing it more and more. And you're seeing guys like Dagnall and our boy over there in freaking Indiana, they're willing to do different things, and that makes a difference. And just like Nick Nurse was when he was with Toronto, he's willing to do things that throw you off for a possession or two.
Right.
And so I think that the Thunder will win, but you just hope that they don't have like celebration fatigue. Yeah, you won a series, but you don't want to come out here in Game 1 and give up home court.
No, you don't. The
Now,
game one, honestly, the pressure is, I think, on the home team. I think because if you don't get that game,
absolutely,
it sets the tone for the series. So, game one, the
absolutely.
pressure is on the Thunder. I will say they have an excellent home court advantage. Defensively, they're just exceptional with their ability to be versatile.
And I also think that the players trust coach, because he, again, like we talked about,
Yes.
he took out Dort after a couple of minutes. He gave him the token start, and he went right away to Caruso. Caruso flipped that game yesterday, and then all of
Well,
a sudden,
Kendrick Perkins said it too. He said it
yeah,
at halftime. Yeah.
not that Dort can't do that, but Caruso's willing to do it. So he flipped that game. Williams hit his first shot, and they stuck with him. And you know what? That made all the difference in the world. So I think in this series, the willingness of OKC and the lack of shooting, maybe by the Wolves in the last series, even though their percentages were good. I was just nervous about their offensive performance. And like I said, which team are we getting?
Yeah, I think it's the Timberwolves, like you said, it's just a very unknown kind of feeling you have with them. I think if they're on their game, obviously they can beat Oklahoma City in any of the games. It's just a
Absolutely.
matter of who's consistent enough. And like you said, there's too many times Van Gundy was talking about it too when calling on those Warriors games that sometimes Edwards just, it's like, where is he?
Yeah.
And he's a guy, he could be the most talented guy in the series and show that he's an MVP type of player and totally take over. So I don't
Yeah, what do we?
exactly
But
know.
here's the wild card. What is Julie? Who's covering Julius Randle?
Yeah. Well, again, we hope if you're the Thunder, you're thinking that there's no way he could play that well had he's played in the first two series against us. But like you said, if he plays how he's been playing in the playoffs so far, that could flip the series right there. Because like you said, in
Yeah.
the front court, Hartenstein's not quick enough to stay with him, and Holmgren's not strong enough, so he has an advantage in either of those matchups right there.
Yeah, and I'd like to see them get Rudy and some more lobs. Rudy's got to get you 10 points
Well,
a game with his
that
lobs.
high low that they've ran in zone, that was tough when they played the Lakers. They got it a bunch too. We'll
Sure.
flipping some of those lobs to him.
Get involved in lobs. He's got to get you 10 points, 5 blocks, and 10 rebounds a game.
Right.
And you know what? Now, Nas Reed is very key in this series. See, Minnesota's a fascinating bunch of parts. They're better than their parts.
Yeah.
Like you look at them on paper and you go, nah. But you know what? They're just one of these teams
The
that
thing
they
is, too,
seem to have found their stride.
DiVincenzo's a guy. He can get you 25 points and maybe win a game for you.
Yeah, he's the guy in this series that is going to be a wild card too. Because if you want to go zone, I'm putting him right in the game.
Man, he's not played good in either of the series, but that might be a
No,
dangerous guy, though. That's the thing. You're
yep.
like, all right, he's
So
bound to come around here, this guy.
this is a
He's good.
fascinating series. This is like chess. This series it's gonna be so much fun just
No,
watching
the
this. It's
coaching
gonna be like,
matchup with Coach Daganol and Coach Finch, I think that's a big thing too in this
yep,
series as well. When do you
sure
decide to
is.
play zone? Do you decide to maybe foul Gobert and put him on the line a few times? It's going to be
Sure.
fascinating to see what these coaches do.
This is a great series. I totally disagree on all these basketball groups I'm on. Like, you guys are nuts. This is awesome. I can't wait to
What I
watch
like
this.
about Coach Finch, though, he's hard on this team. Though he doesn't, he's basically he gets on these guys' ass. He's not someone that's just going to
Yep.
sit there and twiddle his
I
thumbs. So
like that.
yeah, me too.
Both teams have coaches I think that they respect.
Yes.
I'm
Daniels is
so
just such a versatile defender too, and he's a guy who can
yep.
hit shots as well. I think Minnesota. There were times where I thought the Warriors were playing pretty decent, but the Timberwolves, every time they came closer, thought maybe they're going to get them over the hump here, and Timberwolves just totally shot that down. They made big shots. Nas Reed and McDaniels just, I thought at times where they hit
Yeah.
extremely big
And,
shots.
and the other thing is, I know sounds really stupid to say, but the team that usually gives away a game doesn't win the series. So you got to
Yes,
see if anybody gives away a game.
right.
Now, sometimes you can get it back. You could be the 2001 Diamondbacks, but the team that gives away a game usually doesn't get that back and it usually comes back to cost you. So, of course, I'm saying I feel OKC would win, but I think they're a better team, but they can win in 5 if somebody gives away a game, or they can win in 7. I just think they're a better team, but I don't have a dog in the fight, and so I'm really just excited for this
Oh, yeah, I'm
series.
just going to observe and
Um,
love it.
I wouldn't be surprised if the T Wolves win either. Just so fascinated to see how this plays out because this is really cool. So like this is like one of those times where I don't care what the ratings think. The ratings in the NBA have sucked for years. I don't care. I'm excited for this series.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think this is absolutely an extremely fun series to watch. You have basically what's going to be the MVP of the series,
Yep.
Alexander going against Anthony Edwards, who's a great young player.
Oh,
I think it's
stud. Yeah.
absolutely great stuff to watch here. I think no
It
question. And
is
both
too
teams,
young. I'm so tired of hearing about Steph Curry and LeBron James. Get
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
fuck
yeah.
out of here.
Both teams too get
Get
after it defensively too and play
Yeah,
hard.
yeah,
So
it did. And guys are playing both ends of the floor. Get
right,
them the fuck out of here,
right,
please. I'm begging you.
right. Plus Steve Kerr and Draymond sometimes can be a pain in
Oh
the
God,
ass.
just
So
shut the fuck up. I just
right.
can't. I'm so excited to have these guys out of here. Get
Yeah,
them out of
so
here.
I think this is a fun series. I think a guy also like Chet Holmgren, is his jump shot falling? They're a different team, I think, if his outside shot's
Yep,
falling or it's not falling. So,
yep, yep.
there's a like you said, some of these games it comes down to a coin flip. Is your sixth or seventh, eighth guy, is he playing well or not?
Yeah,
Is his
is
stud
Jalen
feeling
Williams
good?
going to hit the shot?
Yeah.
Shaq. I give Shaq credit. He always says the others, and you know what? In the OKC Denver series, he was 1,000% right.
Yep. Yep. Especially, but I will say this: I think this is a series, though. It's not like they can get away with it against the Warriors without Steph. If Anthony Edwards has 1 point at halftime, the Thunder are going to beat their ass by 30.
Yeah, well,
I don't see that
I think
happening.
Ant has heard enough criticism though. I think he's going to be a little
Well,
bit
that's the thing.
unleashed
He's a
here.
guy who gets motivated off criticism, so I think he'll be looking to bring it. And obviously, now you're not in the semifinal of the Western Conference. You're in the conference final now, so there's more eyeballs and more pressure. But I think he's a
Oh
guy
yeah,
who welcomes the challenge. So I
yeah.
look
I think
forward to
he's
seeing it.
motivated. I
Yeah,
think he's going
absolutely,
to be really motivated.
absolutely. Because this is a series right here. If he plays well and puts his team in the finals, you look at him differently. If that
Yep.
happens, so
And the other thing is, there's some other motivated guys. So a guy like Rudy Gobert, he's a little long in the tooth. A guy like this is excited for this series.
yeah, and Mike Conley too. You don't know how many times these guys have a crack at this anymore.
And yet, the funny thing is, again, we talked about this. Your window,
It
like
shrinks so quickly.
if you're in the Eastern Conference, now the Western Conference window, I think the OKC's got a great window.
Oh,
But
they
if
do.
you're
They do.
Minnesota, Minnesota's got some age on that team, but also, and again in the East, that window's going to close quick. So these teams, there's a lot of edge on these
Plus,
teams.
Julius Randle, you think he's tired of getting bitched at? He doesn't play big in big games, so
He's had a great year. I'm so happy for him.
yep.
I'm not a big Julius Randle fan, but I'm very excited for him.
He's I
He's the
think done
guy.
a great job at
Yep,
basically merging, going to the bucket and shooting the outside shot. I think he's blended the
yep.
two very well. Because I tell you what, he's an ox. He's a guy. If you get him on, if he gets you on
So
his hip,
strong.
you're not stopping that guy. Go to the
People got to
bucket,
look at his
man.
biceps. People bounce off of him. The other thing
Exactly.
about him is
Feel like a
he's a guy
defensive
at
end
the
in the
Lakers.
NFL.
Yep, he's a guy the Lakers never should have turned away.
Oh God. Well, how about that? The Lakers, they've left so much young talent on the board. Brandon
Oh,
Ingram and Julius Randle.
Brandon Ingram and Julius. So if you had Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, LeBron, and Luca,
Yeah.
you're not losing.
Okay. You're not losing is right. Yep. No. Well,
Don't get me started
that'll
on
be for
that.
the offseason. We talk about terrible
Yep.
GM moves. That'll be on there for sure. The
Oh
Lakers
God, yeah.
in the last 10 years.
Yep. Yep.
Now Uncle Dave will move to the Pacers and Knicks here. And this is going to be absolutely fun stuff. TNT, it's their last series that they're covering, and how fitting it is. A great rivalry all these years with the Pacers and the
So what
Knicks.
happens to TNT next year? Where are they going?
Well, they're done. The NBA contract is done with them. So basically, what they would have to do, those guys, is they would have to have their own independent show, basically, without the NBA rights and coverage. So they could basically be doing what we're doing, but obviously using their own platform.
So
That's what
where
they
they,
have to
so
do.
who's getting the contract?
NBC. It's going back to NBC.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
You know they're
yeah.
gonna have a bunch of ass kissing players. They're gonna kiss all the players' asses. This is
Yeah,
not fun.
yeah, they're gonna have Blake Griffin, I think, Carmelo Anthony, and even Michael Jordan
Oh,
making some
Carmelo
guest
Anthony.
appearances. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be definitely different. The TNT crew, it's gonna be sad. I hope they do something because those guys are excellent. I love seeing Charles
Well, I tell
Barkley
you what,
and
if
Smith.
you're a person out there with a lot of money, you definitely pay
Oh,
for them
give
to
them
do
the
a
yeah,
show.
absolutely. Just say, hey, look, we'll challenge whatever the NBA is doing. We'll have our own independent thing. I think the NBA crowd, I think, would stay with them. I think because it's just they've had such good camaraderie and chemistry. They've won Emmys. It's been a great show, I think, and great for the not just the NBA but the entertainment world. I think it's been just
But the
exciting.
worst part is, even if you streamed them on another channel, they don't have rights to games, and so that's the problem.
Yeah, so they would have to basically. I don't know how you would work that. Yeah,
So now NBC, like Channel 4, is going to have all these NBA games during the
yeah,
season.
yeah. It's gonna
I
suck.
don't think so because TNT has a game. TNT has like 6 games a week. NBC is not going to put that on its prime time.
Yeah, I don't know
They have
what's
too
gonna
many
happen.
shows.
Yeah,
So
I don't
how
know.
how are they doing this? Is it like an affiliate of
I
NBC?
think plus
Like,
I think the issue you also run into is so many NBA fans are gonna be like, where are the games now? It's gonna be
yeah,
perplexing.
but you know how NBC has like 5 channels? It's not going to be on their main channel because they have like their TV
Like
shows.
you said, you'll have like a Saturday game during the season, you'll have that on, but you're gonna have on a Tuesday night NBC playing an NBA game. It's
No,
not
they're not. Yeah, they're showing ER or some other bullshit from the
right,
old days. But the bottom line is like,
right.
where are these games going to go? It's going to be awful.
Yeah. No, TNT I think was great because it was a channel where you could have NBA games on every other night, on a Wednesday night,
Plus,
on a
these
Friday
guys
night.
held the players accountable.
Yeah. Yep. But
These
that's
guys
the
called
other
out
thing
their
too. Yeah,
bullshit.
Charles Barkley and Shaq don't kiss ass too.
And Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith does, but Charles Barkley called out their shit,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, and Shaquille O'Neal as well. But yeah, Uncle Dave, the Pacers and the Knicks here. Now obviously I think most of the eyeballs are going to be on Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson, but like you said, the other guys, how much of it is comes down to what these guys do. And
Sure.
my God, this is going to be great to see. I think Karl
Well,
Anthony Towns getting in foul trouble. I think that's something you have to watch out for. I think if he gets in trouble with fouls, I think the Pacers they could just punish them. I think on that right there with because obviously
sure.
Robinson, if once he gets in foul trouble, Robinson then it's absolute pressure on him for him not to get in foul trouble. So I think the
Right.
pace of the game, I think here too. You have to watch out for the Knicks' legs and late in these games here, and they're not a deep team to begin with. So these guys, the wheels might fall off on them.
Yeah, the other thing is that surprises me here, though, is that the Knicks got to win the battle of the backboard because the leading rebounder is Pascal Siakam at 7 a game here. So, like, Turner is a good player, but again, the Knicks got to take advantage on the backboard, and we got to see about the cross matches here. I think that Halliburton might wind up covering Hart. And so, if that's the case, Hart's got to go through his chest. And then if McConnell comes in for Hart, which he will, he can't cover Hart either because they're not going to put either one of them on Brunson because Brunson will get both of them in foul trouble, and he's stronger than both of them. So McConnell can't cover Brunson, right? Halliburton can't cover Brunson. So the bottom line is they're going to try to get them into those pick and rolls because they can't cover them. But if they don't get him into that, then obviously Nesmith or Nemhard's going to cover him. Both are great defenders. These are two guys, are the underrated guys on the Pacers. These two wings are very tough, really good players. And that's going to be the key matchup. But then who does Brunson cover? Now, I think Brunson's going to sit out there and try to cover the one that's not hot. It's going to be either Nemhard or Nesmith, whichever one he doesn't
Well, the
think
Knicks,
is
you're going to
hot.
try to, I think, hide him a little bit. I think that's kind of what
Exactly.
they're
So
trying
this
to
is
do.
going to be fascinating. Both Anthony Towns and Turner like to play outside. So the middle of the floor is going to be wide open. The whole fucking series is going to be open. It's going to be very exciting. So Brunson can go to work in the lane. That's why. And the whistle is going to matter. Are you going to let Nesmith and Nemhard hand check like they did to the Cavs?
Right.
Because Brunson last series must have fell to the ground 45 times.
Oh yeah, he
So
was on
like
the ground a lot.
if he's going to get those calls, they're going to be shooting free throws a lot. Now, we know how deep Indiana is. And you got to get something out of Toppin. He's too busy hanging out in the corner shooting threes. He's guy's got to play some defense. He's got to block some shots. Got to get some rebounds.
I think what Indiana should do if obviously Coach Carlisle I think knows what he's doing, but I would put Jalen Brunson in pick and rolls. Just make him work defensively and try to wear his
Yep.
ass out. That's what I would
I
do.
picked them up full court.
Yeah, you just try to,
I,
I
I
think,
picked
wear
them
them
up
out.
full
You're a
court.
deeper team. I think I just play the numbers and the percentages here and say, hey, we're just going to try to basically out fatigue these guys here,
Oh yeah.
and just
Yeah, they're definitely
get these
deeper.
guys
They're
moving.
definitely
And
deeper.
and I worry about the Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks depth. I think that's the thing I worry about. If someone like Hart or Anunoby, they twist an ankle and they're not healthy the rest of the series, you're really, I think, in the hole there.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, game one, I think again, these game ones are huge, I think, for these home teams.
Yep. It's
Indiana,
gonna be
obviously, I
it's gonna
think
be
is
a
the team.
blast. But I tell you, you got to see Hart has to attack Halliburton if that's where they put Halliburton, and he's got to attack Connell too. And then we got to see how that goes. We got to
But
see
I
what
will say
happens
this:
there.
Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is a tougher player than people give him credit for. The New
Oh
York
God, he's
crowd
so
is
good.
they're going to get on him, but I think this guy responds well. I think to pressure this guy.
He's the
I,
head of the snake. You
yeah,
better kill him. He's the
yep.
head of the snake.
And I think it's kind of the Pacers are kind of like the Thunder of the East. They have like a nine-man rotation here, and T.J. McConnell, he's a guy who's a winning player as well. Neesmith, I love him a lot. I think that they just are able to make big plays in big moments. This team, so
How
it's
good a matchup is Siakam and Anunoby?
oh
Holy
yeah, that's
shit!
great. That's great. It's almost
Oh
like a
my
mirror
god!
right there. Almost, it's
Almost.
Siakam's a better post player, and Anunoby's a better perimeter player, but they kind of, I think, cancel each
Yeah,
other out. I think almost.
yeah, yeah. So it's really amazing what's going to happen here.
No, I think it's
Oh,
going
I
to be
think
great. Yep. And I
it
think
is.
obviously this game one, I think in the Garden for sure Wednesday night. It's going to be rocking that place. No,
It's going to be a
no
blast. It
question.
really is.
No question. Obviously, you know what, Knicks fans. I think I'm just an NBA fan. I don't have loyalty to any one team, but it's nice to see the Knicks back in the conference finals for the first time in 25 years.
Yeah,
Uh, the NBA definitely, I think, is more compelling when the Knicks are a good team. So it's
sure.
fun. It's fun to see that. I think I'm definitely going to watch the Reggie Miller versus the New York Knicks documentary. I think before this series starts, just
Get
for
you psyched up.
just for the vintage nostalgia right there. I think also Reggie Miller being on the call in this series too. It's going to be fun. I think
To
it's
have some
fitting that TNT, their last series, is going to be kind of a nice rivalry that we've had in the Eastern Conference here. So
sure.
it'll be definitely fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's a huge rivalry. I had to switch things here. My charger went out upstairs,
No, that's
but
okay. Yeah, but I think the years where you had Larry Johnson hitting the shot, we got fouled on the 3 point, 4 point play in
yeah.
2000 against the Pacers. So you've had some really interesting big games and with the Pacers and the Knicks, even though, like you talked about in those mid 90s, some of those games were tough to watch.
Well,
They were battles, though.
first team to 80 wins.
Right. Exactly.
But it's going to be a blast. But the cross matchups and the wing matchups. So, like, you're going to have Bridges and Hart with
Plus, this is
Ness.
a series that won 7 games last year, so you have kind of the carryover from that.
Got Rosie on the set here.
Yes, her daily appearance on the show.
Rosie, Rosie wants a raise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be. I'm looking so forward to this series. I have to say, if somebody put a gun to my head, they'd have to pull the triggers. I don't know who's going to win.
I'm leaning the Pacers.
Me too. If I had to lean, I'd say that, but I just don't have a great feel for
No,
this.
neither do I. I have more confidence in the Thunder winning against the Wolves than I do the Pacers
Me
with the
too.
Knicks.
Me too.
It's really close, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be a blast. I'm looking forward to this so much.
like you said, also, I think looking at how the game's officiated too, with the flagrant fouls and everything, what's the slack they're willing to give some of these teams here? What's the hand checking going to be like? I think that the game one, you have to figure that all out. What's going to happen with some of these things?
Sure. And every night it's a different crew.
I think you're going to have some physical scuffles and brush ups. So how the teams handle that and how they're officiated, all that basically boils down into the series here. And how teams shoot from the perimeter. That's the other thing too. A lot of teams, it's harder to, not harder, but a lot of teams impose their will less in the interior. So a lot of it's just make or miss league, as Doc Rivers
Yeah.
has talked about. So the coin flip on the teams shooting from the perimeter, that's going to be a big thing. But both teams have great home court advantages. The crowds are going to be charged up no matter where they're playing. So
Oh yeah, Indiana's a great environment.
yeah, yep. So you have basically basketball nostalgia here and purity here, New York and Indiana. So we love that here. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's some good old fashioned hate there. It's It's going to be fun in there. But I tell you, by the end of this series, the Knicks fans are going to want to kill Halliburton because that's how annoying he is.
Yeah, you're kind of gonna have the Trey Young vibe there. The Knicks fans are definitely gonna be targeting his ass. There's no no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. The Knicks got the home court, so everybody talked about how they couldn't beat Cleveland or Boston, and here they are, neither of them standing there.
Yeah, neither they're not even playing either of them. They're playing the Pacers here.
Exactly. So the funny part is, we talked about if the Knicks did it, they would have to go through two great teams. You only had to go through one. Bad news for them is the Pacers have the fourth best record since December. So now you're going through the Pacers who are now healthy and hot. So this is just going to be fascinating. It's a matter of which coach gets to convince their guys to take advantage of the matchups.
Yes, and you have two excellent coaches, I think, too, Rick Carlisle and Tom Thibodeau. So you have, a coaching battle there as well.
Although for me, that's the one reason and I love Tibbs. The one reason I favor the Pacers is because of his willingness to do different
he's a
things.
little too hard-headed, I think. Carlisle, I think, is more willing to adapt than Thibodeau for sure.
Oh, he's gonna try something. He doesn't care. He's like a mad scientist. So I feel like he's a guy that will get a feel for something and he'll try it.
Right, whereas Thibodeau's
Um,
more of this is how we play and this is it,
yeah, so he's not gonna mix it up that much. I feel like a good zone couple of possessions for Indiana could help them. We'll see what happens.
Yep, they're definitely going to be playing chess in both series for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So I think Uncle
No
Dave
doubt.
will transition since we covered all of our playoff stuff here, wrapping up the Eastern Conference semifinals and previewing what we think that's going to happen in these conference finals. Now, I'm going to move now to the NBA draft. And
Sure.
I know this came to my mind immediately, and now it basically caught on social media and in the news where people are thinking now, how ironic is it? I think even you would admit this may be a little too ironic that the Lakers deal Luka Doncic. I mean, the Mavericks deal him to the Lakers. And how ironic is it that the Mavericks then get the number one pick in the draft? Almost like an under the table deal here with Adam Silver and Nico Harrison,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the funny thing is, like, the reason that anybody would think that is why would the league thank the Dallas Mavericks? I know they're helping the Lakers, but they didn't help the Lakers. The Lakers are sitting home. So, like, yeah, I get people always think that. I just couldn't believe the Spurs were the second choice again. Spurs almost had the number one pick. Now, that would have been a conspiracy.
Yes.
How many times did the Spurs win the lottery? I mean, holy shit, how many times are we going to do this? So, like, for me, that would have been the bigger conspiracy. But again, I think anybody who won this lottery, there'd be a conspiracy. But I just think that the Mavs GM is the luckiest man in the world. But if he does screw this up and ship this pick off, I think he's in big
I
trouble.
think you have to draft Cooper Flag. I think you just have to
Jason
draft him.
Kidd basically said he wants Cooper Flake. Jason Kidd's one of the best passers who ever lived.
Exactly.
He
That's the
wants
thing
to
with
get
Cooper Flag. People don't his defensively his ability to block shots and rotate on the rim is great, but
Yep,
this guy showed he's a willing and good passer as well. So,
yep,
like you said, I
yep.
think immediately comes into the league. I think he's like a 19-6 and 7 kind of guy, immediately.
He's a Grant Hill type of guy. I'd like to see him get a little better going to the basket. I'd like to see him get a little better on the J, but he's like a guy who's going to be like a poor man's Grant Hill and T Mac in the beginning.
But I mean,
He's
if
going to
you
get
if you draft him with AD next to him as well, Klay Thompson might have, a rejuvenation here with
oh
his
yeah.
ability to get open shots, and Kyrie, it'll help his legs too. You could have a guy
They
maybe
got Goddard. You got Goddard and Lively. If they go out and get a couple of decent like rugged guards, they could go right to the fucking Western Conference Finals when Kyrie gets back.
right, and I
Like
think
go sign a guy like Mike Conley or Tyus Jones or Trey Jones.
yeah,
Go get one of those. Go
Dallas is
get a
an
couple of those
attractive
guys.
market and a team that's right on the verge there. So I think they're going to be absolutely fun and exciting to watch if they draft Flag. And I think you have a great attractive free agent situation for a guy who can maybe on his last legs come to you and produce for you as
Look at
well.
that front line depth, though. Look at the front line depth on that team. Jesus
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah. I mean, Lively,
So I mean,
AD, and Flag.
yeah. So if you and Goddard, if you go out there and go out there and get a couple of shooters. Holy Jesus Lord! If I'm a free agent guard, I know where I'm going.
Yeah, if you're a guy who's a spot up kind of guy, if you're Bradley Beal, all right, it didn't work with the Suns, go there and see,
Yeah,
come up the bench and see if you can give something.
absolutely,
I think Dallas. I think it's going to be an attractive and fascinating watch next year. So yeah, I just had to bring that
absolutely.
up with the draft there. And like you said, the Spurs with the number two pick. I mean, they have a fascinating team next year too. With next year, you have a healthy De'Aaron Fox with Wembanyama and Castle. I
Castle.
think you absolutely have a. I mean, I absolutely think they're going to be a playoff team next year. The Spurs. There's no doubt about that. If they're healthy, that's a playoff
Yeah,
team.
it's funny though. I think Hopper and Bailey are talented players, but they're both a gamble because as a guy who follows Rutgers, they're my third favorite Division One team. as a guy who follows Rutgers a lot and watches all their games, I was a little disappointed. I know they're talented, but the level of hunger and willingness made me a little nervous this year.
Yeah, the motor, maybe the
Uh,
motor not being there
yeah,
enough,
so
right?
and I know Bailey can score on anybody who's 6'10", but is the maturity level there to work hard every night? I don't know.
I think people have
And
to
then
stop with the Kevin Durant pick comparisons.
yeah, and then Harper's a point guard, and I'm sure they could use a point guard. But again, you know, they already have the Aaron Fox. So if I'm the Spurs, I might trade that pick.
I will say this: if you're the Mavericks general manager, Uncle Davis, Cooper Flag, your pick is that an
Oh
absolute?
God, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Especially with that team. Like he already has two all NBA players around him and two great shot blockers, and he's got one of the best shooters of all time. Get a guy who just is a glue guy. He's gonna fit right in there.
Mhm.
Perfect. When Kyrie gets back, they got to get a point guard to keep it there until Kyrie gets there. Go pick up a
Obviously, I
Mike
would love him
Conley.
with Jason Kidd as well. How would you use him if you were Coach Kidd? Would you have him as a swingman, or like I said, it's
Well,
positionless
first of
basketball
all,
now as well. So
until Kyrie gets back, if he could bring the ball up, which I don't know if he can, I would have him bring the ball up. But if not, you can have him be a point forward. You could start the offense with him, but you got to find someone to get that ball over half court. No one picks up full anymore anyway. But I would definitely play him as like a point forward, and I would have him distribute because you got Clay. He gets downhill. He get the lob. How many times this year do we see him get downhill and throw the lob to
well, that's
Malowich?
the thing. I think Cooper Flag could get 10 assists with that high-low lob. I think to Anthony Davis or to Derek Lively. I think he could have just
Yeah,
absolutely a filthy kind of situation like that.
yeah. I mean, so for him, I think it's a perfect fit.
It's
I
obviously
was,
very differently, but I kind of envision him playing like how the Warriors had them play with Draymond all those years, where he could just, if he
yeah,
gets the rebound, you just run the offense through him at the top of the key there.
yeah. And I was hoping he'd either go. I was hoping he'd go to Philly, but I'm happy with Dallas too because I didn't anticipate Dallas getting in there. So I'm very happy
Plus,
if
with
he goes to
Jason Kidd as his
Dallas.
coach, I think that would be great fit for him. I think.
Absolutely, Jason Kidd's been a solid coach. We have to give him credit.
Yes.
But and you know what's funny though, and again, I'm not trying to say that trading Luca was right. I didn't think they got enough for him, but I don't think trading Luca was wrong. My
No, it
only
wasn't
problem with it
awful.
being
It wasn't awful. I mean, you look at his
no,
body now versus 5 years ago. The guy's totally,
right.
I think, looks like he's breaking down in his mid-20s already. It looks insane.
My thing is you didn't get enough for him.
Right.
Getting rid of him is not my problem. Getting enough for him because you could say, well, it doesn't justify it that they lost with the Lakers. Yeah, it kind of does. So people that say it doesn't justify this is a results business. The Lakers didn't get shit done. They got bounced easily, 4 games to 1. I don't want to hear that. That doesn't justify it. Sure as fuck does. This guy, he didn't get it done with LeBron. So now you got two slow guys who can't guard anybody who both need the ball. So the problem is,
We talked about their offseason too. That
yeah,
looks hideous, I think, for the Lakers.
oh my God, that
What
offseason's a
what do you
mess.
do with them? Rob Pelinka, I mean, you got to be drinking every night.
I mean, is anybody in the perimeter that can guard anybody? I
Right.
mean, so like, they get the guy from the freaking Heat a couple of years ago, play great. They don't use him. It's just ridiculous. I mean, like,
Gabe Vincent.
I don't know, man. This offseason to me is one of the most interesting NBA off seasons in my
Oh, it's gonna
lifetime.
be great. Yeah.
And like I followed it more in the 80s and 90s, but this guy's played hard every night. But the thing is, like, this is a fascinating time because the way the game has shifted, you got to get these guys who can plug in 3 and D guys. You get a bunch of those guys around you. But right now, with teams playing such a spread offense, you got to be able to guard the ball a little bit. And I just don't see the Lakers being able to guard the ball. And I don't think the Wolves are that strong. But here we are in the conference finals. They beat the crap out of the Lakers and they beat a depleted Warrior team.
So Uncle Dave will transition now to Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's rumors and speculation that he might request a trade. And honestly, I won't blame him for doing so because, like you said, the
Yeah,
window is something you always have to consider here. And the Bucks, I think now with Damian Lillard again, torn Achilles at 34. I don't know, is he
yeah,
the same player now? Probably not coming back this late in his career. I think him wanting to trade, I think, would be good for the NBA, I think. And obviously, wherever he goes, that shifts the balance of power for sure, no matter where he goes. Where would you like to see him if you were an NBA? Obviously, we would love it would be fascinating anywhere he goes, but is there any teams that stick out to you if he was to go anywhere that
well,
you would enjoy
believe
seeing?
it or not, it has to be a team that has a lot of draft picks. So let's look at the teams that have a lot of
Well, you
draft
talked
picks.
about the Mavericks now trading that pick for something like him. That would I would not do that. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
go with
but you know what's
Flag.
funny? If you have a lot of draft picks, like OKC has a ton of draft picks. So like, but what would he do on OKC? Like, I don't know. Like, what would you do with him? Like, so they need a little bit more shooting, but yet you never turn down Giannis. But at the same time, does he really fit OKC? I'd like to see him in Miami, but does Miami have enough to get him? I
Enough
don't think they
around
do.
him, right? Right. Do they have enough around
So,
him?
like, but not only that, Giannis is still signed. So you have to be able to get back. You have to have picks, or else they're not going to do it.
Right. Right.
So
They have to
not
get
many
something in
teams,
return. Right.
yeah, not many teams have all this draft capital. Now, the Celtics, I don't think they have any more picks. Remember when the Celtics had all those picks? The Nets have a ton of picks. So you laugh. I know the Nets aren't a big time franchise, but they do have a ton of picks. So you look around, you say, who can get this guy?
And it's interesting. A team like the Magic are a great young team, but you don't want to maybe get rid of that nucleus, though. You don't want to break that up for one player. You maybe want to ride that next year and see how good that team can be. So it's a
Absolutely.
risk, no matter what.
Yep. And could he help the Pistons? I mean, he
Yes.
can help anybody. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's a top 5 player, but it has to be, and he's an unselfish guy. So that's the positives. The negatives are you have to have enough to get him. So, and again, OKC, I mean, Jesus, you'd be, I don't know. What we get, you still got Chad, got the other
Selfishly, him
guy,
with the Warriors with Steph would be fascinating.
Yes, it would. Obviously, him with the Warriors would be great. They'd definitely be probably an NBA Finals favorite right there. Him with the Lakers, but the Lakers don't have enough to get him.
No.
So that's not going to work. But what do the Warriors have to get him? That's the problem. Do the
Right.
Warriors have enough to get him?
Right.
Do the Heat have enough to get him? We have to see what the rules is because I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. Somebody
Yeah,
was saying.
the Clippers or the Cavaliers, maybe. You have to have,
Oh
I
God,
think,
yeah.
you have to have a player or two, and you have to have some picks. I think that's what you have to give. A good player and a couple picks, I think, that are high, obviously,
Well,
to
I tell you what.
weigh them.
If I'm the Cavs, you got to see if you can get him for Allen and some picks.
Right,
Because if
right.
you're
I
the
agree.
Cavs and you put Giannis out there or Mobley, that
And
shit's over.
Mitchell, yeah.
Yeah, and that shit's over. So
I think
like,
that'd be fascinating right
I
there.
would love to see him in Miami though, because I would love to see him, Hero, and Adebayo.
Yes, so Miami's going to do a good job, like Boston, of finding guys, the diamond in the
Yep,
rough, and also
I'd
getting a
love to
free
see
agent or two.
Spoelstra. I'd love to see Spoelstra coaching those guys. But then again, I'd like to see him, with my boys in Orlando there, but Orlando needs some guards first.
I think also
It's
another team that has, again, good young talent, maybe can give you a good pick or two is the Rockets. I think a team like that can also maybe
Oh God, he'd be
offer
great for
enough
the
to get him.
Rockets.
Yeah,
He'd be great for the Rockets. Imagine him on that team
yeah,
with all the defense they play. Oh my God, that team
yeah,
had. I can't believe that team was the second seed. They had
yeah.
no offensive skill level, and they want you. Your credit to Udoka. Just shows you how good a coach he is. So like,
They got it
if you
done with
put
a
him,
lot of energy and defense and timely
if
scoring from guys. That was it.
if you put him at Houston, that'd be fun. But they'd still need some shooters.
Right.
But I tell you what, I understand why he wants to leave. Like I
Yes,
said, Dame. I don't,
he's a guy I think who's worn his heart on his sleeve and he's given everything to that franchise. I definitely don't fault him for wanting out of there, I think at this point or because he's like, "Hey, you don't know how long a guy like him can play. These 7-foot guys that can run up and down the floor like a gazelle, that's not going to last forever." So he might have another 3 or 4 years of really great basketball and then after that it's borrowed time. So for
yeah.
him to say, "Hey, I want that next 3 or 4 years to be with a contender," I totally get it.
It's funny. Speaking of the draft before, I feel really bad for the worst 3 teams in the league. So,
The Wizards
but
and the
then,
Hornets,
but then I did the math. Like, what the fuck did the NBA think was going to happen when all 3 teams only had a 14% chance? Between those 3 teams, that should have been a 90% chance that they get them.
right, exactly.
Think about that.
Not
Each
14%.
Yeah, each team. So 42%. So the worst 3 teams in the league by far only had a 42% chance of
One
one
of
of
the
them getting it.
three. Only one of the three, right.
Yeah. So that's just horrible. Like, how do you, and then they go, well, how does that happen? Well, Jesus, Washington has sucked for 40 fucking years. Can we get him a pick? The Hornets just are chewing up guys and spitting them out. They took the kid Baz Knight a couple of years ago of Charlotte. He was awful. They ruined the kid from Kentucky, Gilchrist. Like, just like swallowing
Oh my
players
God.
down there.
Those two
The
franchises
Bulls,
are just
forget
an
it.
eyesore. Yeah.
I mean, holy Christ, it's a great place. The state loves basketball. It's a beautiful arena. They can't win a goddamn game.
Right.
And then you
The
get the other
highlight,
guys.
the highlight, Uncle Dave, of Charlotte basketball in recent years was when they had Al Jefferson and Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Gerald
And then
Henderson.
you have the poor bastards in Utah who finished up strong. But like, geez, you feel bad for these 3 franchises.
Yeah, Brooklyn
Like,
Nets as well.
how do you only give them a 42% chance and then go shocked when they don't get
What
it?
I would do, we're going to have a show like this once the offseason comes. The top 5 teams, it doesn't matter where you finish, if you're fifth to worst or the last team, you all have the same percentage chance of getting the pick. I would do something like that because this is just
Right.
ridiculous. I think the way the draft has been conducted, I think,
Yeah,
in
all
the
right.
last.
So I mean, You got a lot of teams in the league. All right,
15,
so
20
make the
years.
top three teams have a 75% chance again.
Exactly, exactly,
If
exactly.
you're really, if you're, because this is the worst situation it's ever been for the bottom feeder. The bottom feeder used to always get the best players. Now they didn't. None of the three worst teams even got them.
Right.
None of the three worst teams have a top three pick.
They're trying to disincentivize tanking, but you have to.
Yeah, but those teams didn't tank. They sucked.
Exactly. They just weren't good enough.
Those three teams don't even have a top four pick. Think about that.
No, no, exactly. So that
So if you're a
means next
Utah,
year you're essentially, if you're Charlotte or Utah or Washington, you're going to be expected to be just as bad next year.
yeah. So I'm in Washington in a shitty neighborhood. I'm gonna buy season tickets and go through
No
that
way.
to
No
get to a
way.
game. No fucking way, dude.
You're only going to buy a ticket if someone's great coming into town.
Yeah, there's no way. No
Yeah.
way, dude. So if you're a Utah fan, right? There's nothing else to do in Utah. They have a great fan base. They might show up. But what are you doing if you're a freaking Charlotte fan with college basketball rules supreme down there? And I'd go watch Davidson over the Hornets. Why am I doing that? So,
Right.
and then I'm not going to see the Wizards. I might go to see Utah because that's a great place to play. But the point is, like, what are you doing? These guys are screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, these franchises, I think, like you said, they're just kind of in limbo here. And next year,
Oh,
not having a top five pick, I think, just kills these teams. It's just going to be more of the same. And you can't really sell the fan base on the guy who you're drafting sixth, I think, in the NBA. It's really
where's
the
your
top.
hope?
Yeah.
Where's their hope?
No.
They have no hope.
No.
You didn't get to pick Magic Johnson. He's top three teams. You didn't get to pick Larry Bird. You got nothing.
No.
Now, great. There's a lot of good players in this draft,
Yeah.
but transcendent players in this
Oh,
draft. There's a
yeah.
couple. There's a couple of really good Europeans, but they're going to go out and they're going to take a guy like a Bailey or a Harper, and it's just not mature enough to lead a roster.
Right. You can't expect a 19 or 20-year-old to change your fortunes overnight like that.
Right, and that's why Flag stepped in shit here.
Right. Because you're
So
going to come into a
suppose,
great situation. Yeah.
yeah. So suppose the Sixers passed on him, then he goes to San Antonio,
Yeah.
and if they pass on him, I mean, but like, think about it. He's going to play with veterans.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, that's what he needs. You need to play with veterans. Larry Bird walked in the door. It was Kevin. It was Cedric Maxwell, Tiny Archibald, Dave
Yeah.
Cowens.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's that the situation that Bird and Johnson stepped into were good situations. They weren't in terrible.
Yeah, Magic walked in the door, and Kareem sitting there. Norm Nixon. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So you have here the
Spencer
top
Haywood.
five picks. You have the Mavericks at 1, the Spurs at 2, the 76ers at 3, Charlotte at 4, Utah at 5, then the Wizards and the Pelicans 6 and 7, and the Nets at 8.
Oh, the Pelicans. You want to talk about a waste? Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. Zion
Some,
Williamson, you had CJ McCollum there, Brandon Ingram, and just totally.
someone's gonna fall for that Zion Williamson stuff. Someone's gonna fall for it.
If I'm the Pelicans, I'm looking to deal him and try to fleece someone on that
I
one.
tell you what, I would. Miami. Pat Riley's an impatient man. If I would wave him in front of him and see. I mean, Pat's not stupid, but maybe he would take a bite.
Yeah, you have to. And if I'm a team, I would be intrigued. Maybe I get the guy in my building and I could change my fortunes there and get him going. So I
Yeah,
think
but you definitely got to have him examined by a doctor. Like, is this guy going to be able to lose weight, or is he just going to be huge?
yeah, this is like we've been on this one with him, but a guy at that size, at that weight, flying through the air like that's not natural on those knees and ankles.
Nope, it's not
That's
natural.
not going to
for
last
long
long.
either.
That's not
Nope,
going to last
sure
long.
isn't.
And he doesn't
He's
have
only getting.
he doesn't have a great jump shot. This guy either. So my God,
Let's see, what year did he come out?
2020, I believe, was his draft.
Okay,
That's
so
19.
yeah, so he has been in the league 6 years already, right?
Yeah.
So you think about it now, he's probably only played the equivalent of 4 years because he's missed so many games. So he's got like 6 more years on that body, flying through the air. So you better do something quick with that. He's got like 6 years left on that body because he's missed so many games. So
He was drafted, 2019. Yep, that was right.
yeah, so he's been in the league 6 years, but again, he's missed a lot of games. So we'll give him maybe played 4 years worth of games, not even. So
This
he's
is
got
going to
like
be next year. Is going to be his sixth season playing. He's only played 5. Yeah.
okay, but yeah, so how many? He's probably played 60 games, maybe 2 or 3 times already. So he's going to
played
have
214 games total. He's played in
yeah,
5.
so that's an average of 40 games a year.
Yeah.
So he's played basically like a half seasons. So he's got like 6, 7 more years running around like this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you better do something quick. And again, it's like I said with the Denver GM. You got Joker here. You got another 2 or 3 years at a
That's
prime
it.
Joker. You
That's it.
better do something here. I don't know. How do you not do something at the deadline?
I know. Where's the sense of urgency? Where is it?
How did you not go how'd you not go to call Phoenix and say, hey,
Durant or Booker? What do you want? Right.
what do we need? We need even Beal.
Yeah.
Beal could have helped them. or even
Absolutely.
like a Grayson Allen. What do you need? Like, what do you
Exactly.
want?
Yeah.
Like, give me something.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Russell Westbrook edition, but you needed a little more than that, I
A
think.
little more, another body. Give me
Right.
7 or 8 deep. And
Right.
then tell DeAndre Jordan, hey, dickhead, can you take off the sweats and give me 10 minutes a night to back
Right.
up the center?
Right. Right. Give
I
me two
can't
or
believe
three
they
hard
can't throw him out
fouls.
there.
I know. I
I
know.
can't believe he can't put him out there. The guy can't jump anymore,
I will
block a
say
shot.
this. I give credit to David Adelman. That was almost an impossible
He
situation.
did a good job.
He did pretty good. I mean, he went 7
Yep.
games with the top seed in the conference. He only had 3 games in the regular season to get his feet wet. That was really an impossible situation. And then plus, like we talked about, Aaron Gordon banged up, uh, Michael Porter banged up too as well. So for him to do as good of a job as he did, I give him credit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he did a great job. I just think that the GM deservedly got fired. But how do you not get that guy more help? 2 years in a row now. Everybody's talked about the bench, and you haven't done it. I don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yes, I agree with you. The sense of urgency, the lack thereof, has just been kind of concerning with them.
And there's that philosophy. Maybe you don't buy into, well, we only got a couple more years. We got to take a shot. Yeah, you do. Because if you're the GM, you're not going to be there in 5 years anyway. Take
No,
a
you're not.
shot, win 2 or 3 titles, and screw the next guy. That's what you have to do as a GM. Because you know what? You're not going to get this kind of player again in a lifetime. He's not.
No, you're not. You're not. He's a once in a lifetime player for your franchise for sure.
So you got to go find a backup point and a backup big, and you'll be fine. But if you
Yes.
don't do that, here we are again. Perry Watson wasn't bad, but you got to get better. Strother did a good job, but yesterday he was awful. You got to go get a couple of players. And there's enough players in this draft where you got to go find this again. This is where, OKC's got the best GM. You got to go out and find that diamond in the rough, the guy who serves a purpose, the guy who is a 3-and-D guy, a guy who's a great athlete, got to work on his shot. Guys like that. You got to go get a Ryan Dunn. You got to go get, a guy who's 6'7", who's, can fly around the gym, block a couple of shots once in a while, run the floor. Look at the Indiana Pacers 2 and 3 man. These guys you couldn't no one would recognize these guys if they're walking in the
No,
city.
no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They could walk around do whatever they
So
wanted.
here we have Nemhart and you got Nesmith, and they're both studs. So you got to go find these guys, and then you got to have a coach that gets the most out of it.
And
That's
then a
what Rick
guy who's
Carlisle
kind
came
of,
in.
he's gone through it. Obi Toppin, you get a guy like that. Well, you
Yep.
get a trade from the Knicks there. So you
Yep.
got to make those kind of swift, shrewd kind of moves there. We're going to see what happens because I think Denver, obviously, with Nikola Jokic there, you kind of have to be kind of banging on the door. You can't sit on any year and say we're good enough. They asked
Is Rosie back in the
after
booth? How are you, Rose?
yeah, they asked Jokic, is this good team good enough to win a championship? He's like, obviously not. Last two
Yeah.
years you haven't.
And the
And
funny thing is, and then everybody in the media today try to make a big deal about, that means he wants to be traded. No, he
no,
answered a question. He's a
no.
European. He's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Just going to be blunt and honest with you. They need
And
to.
the funny thing is the kid that the Knicks drafted out of Marquette, he'd be a good point guard for somebody. He sits on that bench.
Yes. Well, Thibodeau with rookies, he's one
So
of the
yeah, but
guys who
you
strikes
tell
me.
me
He's
you
not going to
tell me
play a
that
guy like
that
that.
kid can't spell you 10 minutes a night. Come on, the
Yeah.
kid's an excellent player.
Yeah.
Excellent player. He can't spell you. See, I've always said this as a high school coach too. You make your bench, and I got less talented players than they have. You make your own bench. You're always deeper than you think you are. It's a belief I've had my whole life,
Yes.
and nothing has ever shaken it. You're always deeper than you think, but you have to commit to it. So, like these Joker minutes that we talk about between the first and the second quarter, we should have been working on that since November. And you got to get DeAndre Jordan in there and say, listen, big fella, I need 5 minutes a half. Come on, dude. I'm going to put you in at the freaking 2 minute mark at the end of the first quarter. I'm going to take you out with 9 minutes left. You got to give me something. You got to do it. And you have to commit to it. You can't tell me DeAndre Jordan can't block a shot.
And the coaching situation, I'm assuming David Adelman, they're going to go with him next year. I think that's something to
They
look at.
should.
Do they think that he did enough? I think he did. Uh,
Yeah. But
but
there are
that's
some good
obviously something to
coaches out
watch
there
out.
now. That's the thing. There are some good guys out
Yeah,
there who
it's
are
not cemented that he's going to be the coach next year for sure.
right. There are like I really believe Jeff Van Gundy deserves another shot on the wheel. So I feel like he's lurking out there, but I really believe Darvin Ham deserves another shot. So there's some good guys out there. So we got to see what happens. Scotty Brooks deserves another shot. Nate McMillan,
Mark
fine coach.
Jackson. I always like Mark
Ja-
Jackson.
Yeah, this guy can't preach in the locker room. Can't be talking about the Lord.
Scott Brooks, I
Uh,
agree with you. That's one that really sticks out as well.
so
For sure.
Nate McMillan, excellent coach too. I mean, so here we are. There's some opportunities out there, but some of these franchises just run so poorly. And then, like we said, those bottom three teams did not even get a sniff in the draft. They had less than a half a chance to get this, less than half a chance for one of those three to get them. That's just disgrace the way it's set up.
Definitely agree.
Disgraceful.
All right, Uncle Dave, we'll wrap it up there. Folks, we got tomorrow night, Tuesday night, May 20th here, 2025. We have game one of
Yes.
Western Conference final here with the Thunder and the Timberwolves. So obviously, we are excited and stoked to see that the six Timberwolves against the number one Thunder. So game one obviously is going to be a blast. And then what's
And
great, Uncle Dave, at this point now with the conference finals, each night has a standalone game, so you don't have to worry about games lapping
yeah,
over or watching one game after the other and being totally spent. So it's great. You get these standalone games now. It's fun stuff.
yeah, it's so much fun. Like to analyze each game is fun. So like it's just so much fun. Each game when it gets down to the conference finals, like I've done with the NBA finals in the past, after each game I love to I take notes and evaluate all these games. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for basketball people this time of year.
I think Uncle Dave also, before we go, just want to talk about the injuries in the playoffs here, how they just totally, I think, just
It's
decimating.
disgusting. I'm so tired of
Steph
it.
Curry with the Warriors, Jason Tatum with the Celtics.
Two of the top five players in the league.
Yeah, so you had those that,
Donovan Mitchell.
yeah, Donovan Mitchell. You had, also with the Cavs, just Garland out a couple games as well.
Yep.
That just
Mobley,
totally hurt
Hunter.
them. Mobley and Hunter both missed a game. So you talked about it too before we even were had our first show on the NBA playoffs about how that totally can just throw a wrench in the engine of the
Well,
playoffs and teams' potential, and that happened. The
well,
Nuggets,
it's
obviously, with Porter and Gordon, that played a factor, even though those guys played through. That hurt them as well. So it's just obviously painful to see when these things happen. So
I was thinking about it today.
Damian
When
Lillard,
is the
as
last
well.
playoff where we didn't have a big injury?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'm trying to think. It's like as far as I can remember. So I'm trying to think.
And we've had
I'm
some
going.
devastating ones too, like the Thunder, not the Thunder, the Warriors when they played the Raptors. KD popped his Achilles, so that one
Ah,
you totally got that one ruined right there, right there. You've had
I'm
some
going
really
back now. I'm trying
doozies.
to go back. Yeah, say 1990, no major injuries. Pistons beat the Trailblazers.
Maybe the
But then
bubble year
again,
in 2020. I
yeah,
don't recall.
maybe,
I don't recall that.
maybe.
That was obviously a weird year though with COVID.
But in recent years, it's like a mash unit. And that's because guys are not playing as hard during the regular season. The refs ref the game different. You get in the playoffs and these hard fouls come and these guys are getting
Yes.
hurt. And you see, Nick Van Exel said what I've been saying
Yeah,
for
the high
years.
top sneakers versus the low
They're
top
all
sneakers.
wearing low tops. What are they doing?
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing that up, but yeah, you here you are. Low top
Bring
versus high top sneakers.
bring some damn ankle support. Jesus God.
Well, it's funny, Uncle
Bring
Davis, when you were into the game, when you were first breaking in, everyone wore high tops. There was no
they only wore high tops till about 10 years ago. Now
right,
we're all
right,
going low tops. What the hell are we doing?
right. Don't play in slippers out there, folks.
Oh my God. Especially these Achilles injuries. We never had this many Achilles injuries.
Yeah, yeah,
We used to get ACLs, never Achilles. We had Kobe with an Achilles, we had Isaiah, and that was it.
right.
Now it's everybody. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I think guys aren't used to playing with the torque that is necessary in these high intensity games here, and they get in these and they're playing. It's almost like daycare compared to the playoffs, the regular season. And I think
Oh, you
almost
and
I think in some ways, I think the first half of the regular season is almost like a preseason feel.
you watch these games, it's really like pickup defense. It's awful.
Yeah, yeah. It's the
You see what they did.
and in the NBA playoffs, the whistle's different than it is in the regular season. So guys like James Harden, all of a sudden in the playoffs, they're kind of not a shell, but they're not as quite effective as they are in the regular season.
Yeah, but it's just frustrating because here we are again, and I've talked about this. Do we have to admit how soft we are and just say 72 games, no back to backs? But then you have to play. None of this crap what we're doing, load management. There's no back to backs. I don't want to hear about Pop resting his fucking guy because Pop's going to be soft and ruin the league and crap like that. I'm tired of hearing this shit. 72 games, no back to backs. If you want to miss a game, you got to do what baseball and football does in hockey. You got to go on the DL.
Right. Yeah, you got to go on the
Right?
unable
Want
to
to go on a
perform
DL?
list.
5 games. 5 game DL, 10 game DL. Pick a spot.
I'm such a purist. I love the fact though that the NBA has been an 82 game season for so long now that I don't want to change that. But I hear what
For
you're
sure.
saying with that though.
Sure. But like, if we're gonna be so soft with this, I know the owners will never go for it because it's
No,
less revenue.
exactly. I'm like, well, they're for a different reason, but I'm like, don't capitulate and let the
Right.
guys run the show. I think well, that's why I loved about David Stern. He's like, this is how we do business. If you don't like it, get out, play somewhere else. Then if you don't like it,
They go
but the
play in
NBA
China.
is the top. It's the association for a reason. Everyone around the world who plays basketball professionally wants to get in the NBA for a reason. So
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, you're. And Kevin Garnett talked about it. He's like, look, 82 games. That's what you're playing, motherfucker. I don't want to hear about rest. That's why I love KG. His show with
Yep.
Paul Pierce is absolutely fantastic to watch, but it's because he's a guy who doesn't mince words. He's like, no, motherfucker, 82 games. That's the job. You get paid for it. 82 games.
I've
That's,
never listened. They have a good
they
podcast.
have a great show. Him and Paul Pierce, it's excellent. KG certified. It's excellent. Kevin Garnett
Yeah.
is just, we'll talk about, I'll show some clips to you and we'll have some shows on the offseason about some of the stuff with him, but he just has an excellent show. He just is a guy who's very blunt and to the point. And, it's
Yeah.
unfiltered too. So he's cursing. He's like, motherfucker, it's 82 games. That's the job. I love it. But Kevin Garnett, he's a guy the Timberwolves are thinking about bringing him in to have a management in the front office. I think that'd be an excellent fit. I think he's just a guy, just respected him so much. The passion that he played with was just, it just radiated through the TV screen. I always
You
watching.
know what's funny about him though? He's like the greatest player of all time who doesn't have one skill that you go, wow. He's just
Right.
was a great all
He's
around
just a
player.
freak. Right. Just could block shots. He was great at
Yeah. So
blocking
like
shots.
you wouldn't say he's the best scorer of all
No, no,
time.
no, no. That's the thing. He was
You
just,
wouldn't say he's the best passer of all time. He's not the best shooter of all time. He's not the best handle of all time. But he did enough of everything well.
you know what? He's not
Like
a
I said,
10. He's not a 10 in anything, but he's an 8 in everything.
yeah, but he's the I don't want to call him a role player because he's a stud,
Oh, no, no, no. Definitely not.
but he's like a role player Hall of Famer because he did everything well, but he wasn't the best at any one thing
No.
except effort.
No, no, he was never the best
So
player in the league. Like you said, he was
so like you would never put him as like a Kobe or a Tim Duncan, but
no.
yet effort wise, he's a top 10 guy in effort
Oh yeah, he's a guy I
all
want on my
time
team.
in
That's
my
for
book.
sure. Oh yeah,
All time in my book, he's a top 10 guy in effort. So that's my point with him. Like you can't name me the big bucket, you can't name me the big play, but he was just always great at everything.
yes,
So like it's fucked up to describe him because he's not those top 15 guys in history, but his effort is. So
yes.
like he's like a weird player to describe to a person. So if a Martian comes down and says, "Oh, who's this guy KG?" I go, "Jesus, he's not probably top 25 even, but you know
No,
what?
he's not.
I want him on my team."
Oh, absolutely.
So like you're gonna laugh, but on my team, if I have enough scoring, I'd take him over Kobe in a heartbeat.
Right.
It's because he'll do everything else for me.
It's so true.
And
It's
he
so true.
doesn't need the damn ball.
And
Paul
talk about a
Pierce
guy who
needed,
could play 1 through 5. He can.
yeah. And Paul Pierce needs the
Can.
ball. KG don't need the ball.
No, no.
So like for me, he's one of those guys. Like you're gonna laugh. Flash back to like NBA 2K, those early 2000s. The NBA
Yeah, put him
2K
at the
games
top
are
of the
great.
zone. Yeah, put him at the top
I
of the
put him
zone
at the top of this,
and have him put his arms out. You're not going to get a pass off.
just crushing guys at the top of the zone.
Oh,
But the
it's
funny
great.
thing is, he was a beast because like he just did everything pretty well. Like I said, I can't even say he's top 25, but I want him on my team top 10 because I'll put him out there and he'll just do whatever I need.
It just showed up on my timeline too on my social media that he had a great game 7 against the Kings in 2004. He had like 34 points and they won a game 7 at home in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a guy that just, like you said, just so much passion. And he was not weak in anything, but he wasn't, like you said, the best at anything per se. But the guy was just a winner, though. That's all I know. He was
Him and
able to,
Steph. Steph wanted the same money as KG, and he didn't realize that 7 feet got different money than 6'3".
yeah, especially back then too.
Steph forced his way out of there.
That's probably something he's got to think about. You left at prime Kevin Garnett. You don't do that.
Plus, I think they had Wally too, didn't they?
Wally came later. Wally Zerbiak came later. Yep.
Because then he played with Sprewell and Wally KG, didn't he?
Tom Gugliotta,
Oh yeah, that was some team. Jesus Lord.
Latrell Sprewell, Troy Hudson. That's a team that's again in the whole very good. That team, that Minnesota team,
Yeah, them and the Sacramento Kings and a couple of those Portland teams.
and Scott Brooks was on that team as well. Oh no, not Scott Brooks. Not Scott Brooks. Oh,
Which team?
on the Timberwolves.
Uh Not Nate McMillan.
Iowa State coach, and also was in the NBA for a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah, the mayor for Hoiberg.
Fred Hoiberg, yes, Fred Hoiberg.
The mayor. They
Yep,
call him the
yep.
mayor.
He was
Yeah.
on that. He was a rotational player on that Timberwolves team in the mid 2000s. Yep.
Such great memories of those teams, and then the Sacramento Kings with the NBA special. They definitely got hosed by the
Oh my
Lakers. And a
God!
couple,
I just watched it last night with Tim Donaghy. He said that's the worst officiated game, Game 6 in 2002 with the Kings
oh
and
my God!
in
I
the
remember
Lakers.
watching
Oh
that
my
series.
Lord!
I remember watching that series exactly where I'm sitting right now and going, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Mike Bibby was getting assaulted the whole game, and they were not calling anything. Kobe and Shaq 2 times, literally, it was assault. Chris Webber, they called an offensive foul on. I mean, it was egregious how bad it was. The Kings were the better team that year, by the way. They
They
were the
were.
better team. They should have won
They
that
were.
series. That was egregious.
They were, and they played beautiful basketball too.
That was the team. That was like the first team to play what we would consider the modern style. Vlade
Well,
was a great passer, and that
they
was
had Pete.
such a
They had
fun
Pete
team.
Carrill.
Such a fun team. Hedo Turkoglu, Peja Stojakovic, Doug Christie, Bobby Jackson, Tony Delk, Mike Bibby, Chris Webber, Vlade Divac. That was just a fun team to watch, boy. Scott Pollard. Oh my
Dejan
Lord.
Stojakovic's son is good,
He is. Dad was a different type of
really good.
though.
His son is more mobile. Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
he needs to hit the weight room, but he's a bitch.
yeah,
He's gonna be
he
good.
has to put on another 20 pounds for sure. But yeah.
He does, but I tell you what, he's a pro.
Yes, definitely. Runs in the bloodline.
I tell you what, he those teams, yeah, those Portland teams are really good. Some other great teams that did win. There was some great Bucks teams in the '80s.
Well, the
Holy shit,
Jailblazers, right? Where you had Rasheed Wallace and Jermaine O'Neal, and you had Damon Stoudemire,
Scottie
Scottie
Pippen and
Pippen.
shit. That was a great team. The Lakers came back in the fourth quarter, down
That left
17.
shrimp.
Came
Mike
back down
Dunleavy was the
17.
coach. Mike Dunleavy was the coach.
Yeah, yeah, down
That
Mike
two,
Dunleavy.
what was it? Was it 2000 where they had the Lakers on the ropes in Game
Yeah, they
7?
had him by the balls.
15 up 15. They should have won.
Steve Smith.
Yeah, that's right. Steve Smith. Yeah,
Oh my God, that team
that
should have won.
you really look at the Lakers. They won 3 championships, but in 2 of those years, they should have lost. Probably they should have lost to
Yeah,
the
they should
Blazers.
have
They should have
lost.
lost to the Kings.
Yeah.
Boy,
Well, the Lakers were a funny
You look
team.
at Kobe and Shaq differently if they lose those series.
Well, the
Boy,
funny thing is that those Laker teams didn't have enough around them to make it easy. I mean, they get guys like Tate George and shit. Not Tate George,
Devin
Paul
George, Devin George,
Devin George, but like they didn't have enough
Robert
around.
Ory, Ron Harper, Glenn
Yeah,
Rice.
Fisher, but but like they had good players, but they just needed some more. And Rick Fox, but like they never had like just beasts around those guys. Like if they ever could have got a
Mark
little more
Madsen.
around them. Yep. Yeah, so like you look at those teams, and they beat some bad teams too. Let's face it, the Sixers. The
Besides
Sixers are
Allen Iverson, you stop Allen Iverson, you stop that team.
Sixers
That
are the
team couldn't
worst
score.
offensive team. Them and the old Pistons are the worst offensive teams I've ever seen in the
I
NBA
would say
Finals.
that the 01 Sixers to me is the worst offensive team to ever play in a finals. I would say
Yeah,
for sure. Even worse than
I
the
would
Pistons.
say them and the '94 Knicks and Rockets. They were both awful too in the offense.
Yes, they could give them a run. But I mean, George Lynch, are you kidding me? Matt
Oh God,
Geiger, Dikembe Mutombo was
terrible.
a great defender, but he wasn't an offensive player.
Fucking Keith Van Horn and those Nets teams. Jesus Christ, Kerry Kittles. Come on, dude.
I would say even the Nets were a little bit better offensively than the Sixers were. But yeah,
Sure. Well, that's because they had Kid. Kid could do things.
right. But oh my God, yeah, those were not. Yeah, the Eastern Conference there was hurting offensively for sure. My goodness.
Oh God. Well, that was a big transition in basketball back then. Jordan had just left. It's post Jordan, pre LeBron, and so there's this gap in there, and everybody's fighting for supremacy. And if you look at it, really the best player then is Duncan, but he's a post player. And so T Mac and Vince Carter back then are the guys getting to the rack, but yet T Mac had some injuries. Vince had some injuries a little bit. They just never took off. Then LeBron comes in the league, and then it changes things. D Wade comes in the league, and all of a sudden it becomes more of a wing league. And then when Curry comes, we know what happens then.
Yep. Obviously, it changes. It's so fast. You make a great point there. How the game evolved over the years like that. Yep.
Yeah, it's totally changed.
Uh,
It's funny, but we definitely have to do a show at the teams that were best to never win, and also college as well.
Oh yeah, well, we'll definitely be on that. I'm definitely brainstorming already for our post
Yeah, looking
season,
forward to that.
college and NBA because we'll definitely have fun in the summer before we get, then all of a sudden October comes, then we're back. We're going to be right back into it with college hoop.
I've
And
been following the portal
NBA.
like a motherfucker for the college too, so I'm all
Oh
over the
God,
portal.
yeah, that's going to be. Oh
Oh,
my
I'm ready.
goodness.
I'm ready for the portal, baby. I'm ready for the portal discussions.
Oh Jesus, yeah, that's going to. I mean,
I'm locked in.
we know eventually that's gotta change right now because
Oh,
it's
it's
just
such a
totally
shit
insane.
show. Oh
Oh
my
my God.
God. Such
Yeah.
a shit show.
I mean, you actually have it less chaotic in the NBA than you do in college. Which is
I
insane.
know.
Actually, it's
I know.
actually insane. I mean, it's just
It's
1 year
nuts.
deals, year after year with these guys. You can't have that. Like you cannot have
No.
that. Oh well, that's interesting. And obviously, us being Duke fans, like you said, all the Duke guys basically have gone that were the main contributors on that team. So
Yep.
obviously, it's going to be totally a
Yep.
different look.
Oh yeah.
I'm still not
Totally
over that
different
Duke
look.
loss, Uncle Dave. I got news for you. I've
You'll
not,
never get over it.
I'm not healed from that one.
I'm not over 1999.
That is absolutely brutal.
I'm not over 1999. '04 we overachieved, so I can get over that one, but we did get fouled and we should have won that game. 98, we blew a 15-point lead to Kentucky. We could have won that year. Uh, so there's something you just never get over. But
But
then again,
obviously,
there's some teams that won that probably shouldn't have. That 2010 Duke team was good, but they weren't fucking
yeah, they
great, but
could have
they won.
lost. Yeah, yeah. But I
So
think it'd be
you get
interesting
over
how
some of
how
those.
Con Knipple is in the a guy like Bogdan Bogdanovic. You see some guys in the NBA that kind of play like how he plays. So I think he'll find his niche. He's a good shooter, the guy, and
Sure.
he's a strong kid as well. So I mean, I think that he'll
They're
find
just going to try to
a lot more.
isolate him on defense because they did that in college this year a couple of times.
And Mollywalk, I think, is going to be the proverbial rim protector and lob catcher. You can't, if you don't have a center that can step out and shoot, you need a guy like that. So a
But
guy
I
like
tell you what,
Clint Capella, Tyson Chandler, that's how he has to be.
I said this before and I'll say it again. I think the best of the lob catchers in the NBA is Lively. Lively's got the best feet of all those guys. Lively has better feet as a shot blocker than any guy I've seen side to side in
Yeah,
my
he's a
life.
jumping bean for sure.
Not only that, he goes side to side really quick. He's got great feet. This son of a bitch, he wasn't healthy this year. He can cover a wing, I'm telling you, in the perimeter. That's how talented he is.
Yeah,
He's the
yeah.
guy that's really a lot better than people ever thought. I knew he'd be great because his feet go side to side.
Yeah, you need fives now with the pick and roll that can switch out and defend a
And
guard.
that's what he does. And I don't know if
Yeah.
Malawatch will be able to do that. We'll have to see.
Yes. Definitely going to be fun to see and fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, folks, all you basketball fans out there, live long and prosper. May the force be with you.
Peace.